3，记得。
我这边车位置，好了，哎呦，哎呀！我觉得可以下来了，队长来，
打头了，
走，
左边，
走，刘备。跑到去大学了，
倒了，
牛逼！
有房，在左边右边，
有，看到了。
注意，不一定要尝试，兄弟们。倒了，先抽着，我要回去，我不能尝试。
我说绿点马还有5个兄弟。倒了，
3级都倒了，
我左边位那个来，上不来，中间2个地方。
上了，帮我注意一点的。
OK， 我没烟了，
有没有？
I don't know. Chris? Nice. Should have. People outside running around.
I see two right, I think fuck someone's head.
Running outside west. One running with the pipes right now. On the pipes, boys. He's below you, boys.
Is he inside?
Insta.
Hold it.
Yeah.
Kill that guy.
Nice.
Cool. Nice. One more way.
First good left side, go right side.
Yeah, I'm on the way. What is it? Nice.
So it's time for APAC. In PCS3 APAC, we see a lot of familiar names, the names that we have seen at least once in PCS event, but there are 4 brand new teams: Unicorn Cyber Da Nang and Hydra Gaming from Vietnam, and Sharper Esports from Thailand, and Angel Alliance from Philippines. Which team do you think have a chance to win over PCS3?
Yeah, to me it looks like that Sharper Esports probably has the best chance out of these 4 teams, being that they are 3 out of the 4 members of Golden Cat. So this is a really strong Thai team. I'm really looking forward to seeing this team perform again with mostly the same members.
And from Thailand, I really want to talk about Miramar United Esports. They have been playing so well from all PCS events, but now they have added Joman to their roster. He was one of the best fragger in PCS1, leading Q Confirm to the championship. How do you think you always picked Miramar United Esports?
Yeah, I really like Miramar United. I mean, they're one of the best edge teams in the world. They've been really, really close as well. They've gotten second and third a lot here at the PCS events, and I think adding Jaumans gives them a lot of extra firepower on a team that already had a lot of firepower, makes them again one of my favorites for PCS3 APAC.
Moving on to Vietnamese team, we really have to talk about Divine. They picked up a new sponsorship with LG, so it's LG Divine, and they won the first ever championship in PUBG Vietnam series.
Yeah, this is their first regional championship. They got their first global championship before they got a regional one, but we're seeing why they got a global championship now. They are clearly the top of the class in Vietnam.
Actually, I know one player from Unicorn Cyber Da Nang from Vietnam. I heard that Blue has an interesting story.
Yeah, he really was kind of a zero to hero story, so I'm really excited to see this team on the stage. He had in the previous PVS, he had 0 kills through 12 games, so it was, it was kind of a struggle. Maybe he was nervous, I'm not sure. But then most recent PVS season, he had a 1v7. He won a 1v7. And that's actually incredible. That is, I don't care what region you're in, that's really hard to do, and especially in Vietnam.
Yeah, it was a clutch win. Moving on to Indonesia, we do have this team, Victim Rise. They're always a very strong team from Indonesia. What do you think about this team?
Absolutely, they have a shot. They have been so good at many tournaments this year, whether it be in the PCSs or something else. They're incredible, so they're always the top of the class in Indonesia, and maybe this is their time to shine.
And lastly, we really have to talk about Fury. They were the second place in last PCS2 APAC. They were this close to winning, but now I heard that they bolstered their roster.
Yeah, I think Fury did pick up Flood onto the team, and Juxi went over to BAE, so they kind of swapped rosters a little bit here, but for Fury, they continue to be the top of their region. They always have been so far this year. But now with Flood, let's see if they can go from that second place and maybe topple a team like Divine or Buriram and take that first place spot.
So last but not least is Europe. Europe is always fun to watch because there are tons of great teams. Which team do you think have a chance to win the last PCS3 championship in Europe?
Yeah, there's a lot of really good teams in Europe, so it's definitely hard to choose. You got to look at Navi again first. My pick for PCS2 didn't go so well for them in that event, but they won the PCS3 qualifiers in Europe, so they're looking very, very strong here. Once again, the real question is, can they maintain that strong form going into the finals?
I saw that Northern Lights also ranked second in the group stage. They've won the PCS Charity Showdown, so they know how to win. What do you think about this team?
Yeah, I'm expecting good things out of the Northern Lights. They're very consistent, another really strong team behind the likes of players like Batulins. So no doubt that we know that if they play well and they show up, that they can win an event.
And we have FaZe Clan, the former champion of PCS2 Europe. What do you think about this team? Do you think they have a chance to win again?
I mean, I think FaZe Clan has to be the favorite coming into this event. It's the end of the year. It's late stage phase. We know how good they are as the year rolls along. We've seen it time and time again. Got Gustav leading the way with the macro play calling and Fuzzface doing the micro play calling now. And of course, there's always Uba. So we know this team is sick. We know how good they are, and you can never ever count them out.
Team Liquid was the biggest contender to FaZe Clan in PCS2 Europe. They were second, and they also won DreamHack recently, but then they were kind of struggling in PCS3 Europe group stage. What do you think?
So I think Team Liquid is, you know, kind of the joke is that they're either really good or not very good, but I expect them to really kind of do their homework and come back into PCS3 Europe as a strong contender for the title.
So Digital Athletics, they were third in group stage. Like, what do you think about this underdogs? They came all the way from the open qualifiers.
I have to admit, I love DA. I think they're really, really fun to watch. They're a wild card in Europe. They play like nobody else does in Europe. They set up rotation traps. They just send it on stuff that most teams would never even dream of trying to do. So they're absolutely a joy to watch. And if they win it, I will be one of the loudest cheerers out there for them.
One team I would like to highlight from Europe is Bystanders. They didn't rank high on PCS2 Europe or PCS3 Europe group stage, but I remember the 15 kill chicken dinner they had on day 4 of PCS2 Europe. It was clutch, and I was really impressed with the performance of Beanie leading the team. And I heard that he changes setting every 3 hours. It's insane.
That's actually insane. I mean, I can't imagine a professional player being able to maintain a high level of play like he does doing that. That's really crazy. I'm really impressed with them in general, and there's so many good teams in Europe. It makes it so hard to pick for this region. It's such a deep region. I mean, you got teams like TSM, Redline. It's just crazy how many good teams there are. So it's really hard to even say there's like a dark horse there.
Yeah, so it has been anyone's game for a whole year. Let's see who wins the last championship. Pick'em Challenge is back with PCS3. As always, we have 2 types of games. The main game is to predict the winner. You simply predict the winner for all 4 regions, and if you get right, you can get 100,000 EPs each. To cast a vote here, you need a voting coupon, and you can get up to 14 voting coupons by purchasing PCS3 items.
You can also get a free coupon if you tune in to the live broadcast. Same as it always is, guys. We've got the codes that are gonna come up on the screen. First come, first serve, so you gotta be quick on the draw with that, and you can use that free coupon then for the main voting. We also have a free game again with a team face-off. It's weighted voting, same as last time. So if you pick the underdog, you're gonna get more EP than you would if you pick the more favored team in terms of who is picking those teams.
There are ways to collect EPs by watching live streams. First is live quizzes. The live quizzes will pop up during the live broadcasting in PUBG Esports global Twitch channels, and you can get EPs when you get right.
Yeah, exactly. And we're making it rain again, guys. Twitch drops are back. So you just gotta tune in. Make sure you get those accounts linked. You get your PUBG account linked to your Twitch account. And this time, even better, our console players are available to get drops as well. So if you're on Stadia, Xbox, or PlayStation, you can now qualify for the drops.
For PCS3, we have added summary page to the esports tab. You can see the whole voting status and claim the reward at once here. And here are the teams that we've picked for PCS3. PUBG Continental Series 3 is right around the corner. It's the last PUBG Esports global event in 2020, so don't miss it and check out which teams will win the last championship.
Yeah, you guys really don't want to miss this. Make sure you tune in. November 5th, we're kicking things off with Asia. It's going to be incredible. There's so much on the line in these tournaments.
We'll be back with more interesting content related to PUBG Esports and PUBG Continental Series, so stay tuned. And don't forget to like and subscribe.
Hi, I am Matt Lee, also known as Ronan. I play for Fury and I am representing Australia in PCS3.
My name is Juxi. I currently play for Battle Arena Elites, and although I reside in Australia, we're representing Malaysia, Singapore in PCS3. PUBG.
Damn.
Erangel is 8 by 8 kilometers.
PUBG. Severny, Yasnaya, Rozhok, North Georgia Pole, or Georgia Pole in general, Primorsk, Pachinki, Milta. PUBG. Is that a question or is that a...
It's not a question, man.
What is... we actually love Milta. I just think... I just love the layout of Milta. I just think the best players loot there. It's very fun to fight. I actually love contesting there. It's probably one of my best places to contest.
Anywhere but Milta. There's just too many good players that loot there, and I don't really... There's too many good players that loot there, and I'm really just not interested in fighting early against those sort of really exceptionally skilled players. PUBG. Okay, so Lipovka, Rozhok, Milta, Gatka. What's that other one? On the top right.
Fairy Pit.
Fairy Pit. Top right one.
Top
right one.
Kem.
Hit you with the right. Huh?
Kem.
Kameshki. And Milta Power.
Oof.
Okay, that'll
Good
do.
job.
I'll take that. I'll take 5.
PUBG.
PUBG.
What's that Russian place called? Or not the Russian, but the nuclear bomb thing. Chernobyl. PUBG. I don't even know how much per map. That's a very. I didn't follow every 24 games. I'm gonna say us. Oh, Fury. Oh, actually,
Might be.
no. We were Miramar. No, it was Divine. It'd be Divine. Divine
Yeah.
sucked on Miramar. We did good on Miramar. So Divine. And I'm gonna guess 8.8.
Well, if it's not Divine, then it would have had to be Fury. I'm gonna guess 8.8.
Really?
Get stuffed. No way.
So much you drop on Minas. Minas is my second favorite place to drop.
Alrighty, guys. That's it from me, Jukesy. Just want to let you all know that I'm a geographer, and for all of you to watch PCS3.
Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Remember to vote Fury because this time we're actually going to win and hopefully win a game as well.
It's been a long wait, but we have arrived for PUBG Continental Series number 3 here for APAC. My name is Xenox. Joining me tonight is the lovely Elfish Guy. Good to have you back. Good to be back as well, Jordan.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm super keen to jump back into some PUBG. Can I just say, by the way, that countdown timer, it kind of trolled me a little bit, you know, because it was like, it's like 10, 9, and you get all the way down to 1, and then you're like, 1, 1, 1, and then finally it comes up with us. So I thought we would just, 15-second countdown timer there instead of 10 seconds. But anyway, we got trolled. It's fine. We're here. We're good to go. Looking forward to catching up with PCS3. A lot of new teams coming through, but as we've been talking about a little bit before the broadcast amongst ourselves, Xenox, quite a few returning teams as well. A lot of teams that have played in every single PCS here in APAC, and a lot of those teams are the ones I think that we'll be really focusing on tonight to see whether or not they can get off to that good start that we probably expect from them.
Yeah, it's a good point that you do bring up. A third of the lobby here for PCS3 APAC has returned from number 1 and number 2. Fury, Bay, Divine, Cerberus, Daytrade, Buriram. Really good to see all of them returning for each PCS, because it shows the consistency of the lobby, of the region as a whole, that a third of the region continues to make it back to, of course, the grandstand. So obviously good signs there. I think when you look at those rosters as well and you look at those teams, they're kind of the favorites. They're the teams you look at that have got the best potential at, of course, winning PCS. And we've also got some past winners in there. We've got one that tied first in PCS2, didn't quite make it all the way. And of course, that was against Divine and Fury tying it up. And hopefully we can have something similar towards the end. Here's the overview, though, by the way, as we kickstart tonight. Of course, this is the opening start for PCS3 APAC. If you're a big PUBG fan, maybe you've been watching the other regions that did kickstart a few nights ago. Asia and North America, they've already played 2 nights. They're already ahead of the curve. But you know what they say, Jordan? They save the best till last. APAC and Europe now are going to be kickstarting tonight, and we go pretty much until the end of the month.
Yeah, it's a big month, isn't it, for PUBG? It's always kind of good to see. Again, we've sort of talked about these formats a lot in the past when we've been covering PCS and, you know, PCS1 and PCS2. And like I've said in the past, I kind of enjoy this sort of a format a little bit more so than the long-form league. I think it makes for some more engaging viewing. And if you're a real PUBG fanatic, you can sort of have this month-long sort of PUBG esports that you're able to watch over the course of November. And it's, you know, it's going to be a good month for you. So hopefully we get some good games out of APAC in particular. I was watching a little bit from Asia last night, and they were off to a pretty good start there as well. Now, we're starting off on Miramar today, Xenox. We go Miramar, Erangel, and sort of swap backwards and forwards. We're going to get even splits across the board as well, which is always good. That's something that I think is quite nice. You know, we don't have to go through from day 1, 2, and 3 and go, oh, well, we've played 3 Erangel games on each night, and we've only played 2 Miramar games, so the better teams on Miramar are going to have to catch up towards the end of the season or whatever. This time, it's just, you know, we get a good indication. You can extrapolate the results a little bit better based on every single day because we've only got those 4 games a night. And hopefully that's going to give us a good indication of what we will get from, you know, the rest of the tournament once we kick things off here in day 1 and 2.
I was going to say 24 games usually gives us a really good indication as well that once we get to that 24th game, we've got a very much deserved winner. But, you know, going back to PCS2, I think Fury would have liked at least one more game because they were coming home strong, didn't quite come away with the win, though. And speaking of winning, the prize pool that, of course, the players and the teams are going to be trying to get a share of $200,000 plus the 12.5% from the in-game sales for the pick'ems and all of those skins and all of those goodies. And of course, as usual, we'll have the pick'em challenger codes throughout the stream that you guys can try and nab. You got to be pretty quick though, to be fair. I have noticed throughout this year, Jordan, they are very, very difficult to acquire. They do go very quickly, so it could be quick on the trigger there. But continuing on with this mini pre-show before we get into game number 1, we spoke about the teams that have returned so far for every single PCS3 or PCS APAC, I should say. We've got a couple of newbies though to close out 2020. We've got Purple Mood Esports, which I've noticed throughout 2020 from Thailand, they've always been a little bit close, just on the bubble, haven't quite been able to make it their way in, have now been able to do so for the final event of the year. You got Unicorn Cyber from Vietnam, who apparently are very popular in terms of the pick'em challenges, already thousands of votes, and we haven't even played a game, and it's their first appearance so far this year. Hydra Gaming, another one from Vietnam as well. Love the logo, love the name, and we'll see if we love their gameplay.
Yeah, a couple of returning teams as well, Xenox. I mean, we sort of spoke about some of those returning winners. You spoke about Divine, you spoke about Fury, although Fury weren't necessarily the winners. Obviously, one of the favorites for today and for the rest of the competition in Fury, but I think we'll talk about them a lot throughout the course of the game, so maybe we'll hold off on that conversation. One team that I do want to touch on a lot actually in this pre-show is Sharper Esport, which is, you know, maybe a name that a lot of people aren't too familiar with. I think you'd be a little bit more familiar with the name Golden Cat, which is where 3 out of 4 of the members of this roster do hail from. We saw them in Charity Showdown, we saw them in PCS1, and to be honest, they had 2 pretty good performances in both of those tournaments. They didn't make it into PCS2, which was a bit of a surprise to me because of the consistency that they showed in PCS APAC, but being able to come back again here now for PCS3 is going to make things pretty interesting. You know, I think that brings another fairly strong team back into the mix. Another one of the returning teams to note as well, although again, maybe in a different form to what we have known them in the past, is Ferox. Obviously, you'd remember them as Carnage from Charity Showdown. Admittedly, they didn't have an amazing performance. They came 14th in that one. They have had a bit of a roster change since that time, bringing Sweet Soul in. But aside from that, you know, another team coming through from the Oceanic region now that Astra has, you know, moved on from the game, so to speak, or at least it seems like they have. Maybe they'll be back in the future, who knows? So I'm excited to see what Ferox can do, you know, with another 6 months or so of PUBG under their belt. Having brought Sweet Soul into this roster, you know, having played at this level of competition before, I think we're probably not expecting them to be a top team. You know, they're probably not going to be contesting for first place or anything like that. But I think for them, the aim should be something like top 10 after now having got that experience under their belt in Charity Showdown.
Yeah, one of the more interesting things you just brought up, and I like a little light bulb in my head was like, well, you mentioned Astra, of course, disbanding. From my knowledge, it's like / retirement. Well, no, Niku's is in NA, Lynx's in NA, Extreme's having a break, and Zoid's having a break. But one thing that sort of just made that light bulb pop was, I wonder which teams participated in Charity Showdown 1, 2, but aren't here for the finale to close out 2020. Maybe I can get you to do that one during game number 1 or have a look at it, but it certainly would be an interesting one to look at because you speak about longevity. You know, we've touched on teams that have returned throughout all of the events so far for 2020 in APAC. There's probably at least someone else other than just Astra who hasn't been able to make it for this final one. Regardless though, the beautiful thing is that they've had all year long, regardless if they did miss out on this one. Just like the teams that are making their debut, everyone gets a shot. There's lots of different pathways to get into the PUBG Continental Series, and in my eyes, it's really been a massive success, not just for APAC, but pretty much for every region as a whole throughout 2020. Of course, as 2020 has had its challenges throughout, I think PUBG has flourished, and I think it's really been enjoyable. And I would say from where we started at Charity Showdown all the way down to now PCS3 APAC, a big sort of pat on the back to everyone at PUBG Corp for getting everything off the ground. And one thing that I've also noticed, the transition and the improvements, the esport in-game, it's just been so much improved throughout the year as it goes on. I love the pictures, I love seeing all the players and all the statistics that you can see, the pick'em challenges, everything about it. It's been a very big, successful year so far for PUBG.
Yeah, indeed. I have to agree with you. I mean, much as I enjoyed last year, you know, doing ANZ champs and watching the Australian games predominantly, I have enjoyed also being able to take a bit of a broader look at the Asian components here with the sort of the APAC region, which is mostly Southeast Asia and Oceania obviously involved, a bit separate from the likes of China and Korea, etc. But it has been a really good year of PUBG. I think from a competitive standpoint, you know, it's been difficult for the Oceanic region in particular, but toward the top end for the likes of Fury, you know, despite the fact that maybe it's a bit more of a difficult kind of a situation for them having to play on the SEA servers, etc., I think the level of competition at which they get to play at and sort of test themselves at is definitely higher than what you would get from just playing the Oceanic component and then moving into an international tournament here or there at the end of the year. That's the one thing that's missing from this year. Unfortunately, not a whole lot that you can really do about it. And that's something that makes me really look forward to 2021. Obviously, it's been an enjoyable year, 2020, here with all the PCS, you know, 1, 2, 3 going on and Charity Showdown. But I think we're all quite excited to see how each of these regions are going to compete against one another when that opportunity does present itself again. You know, is Europe still going to be towards the top end? The same for Korea. Obviously, China seems to be going quite nicely these days as well. How do the likes of the Oceanic teams perform? Because if you remember, Atletico's great stuff at GLL Grand Slam.
Yeah.
You know, can Fury be able to replicate that and sort of continue that sort of trend from the Oceanic region, or is it maybe someone else from the APAC region? I think these are all questions that we have to sort of wait and answer when we do get into 2021. And, you know, maybe there's that sort of sense of just biding your time, building a bit of suspense. That's what 2020 is about. We've had all the local sort of domestic competitions to tide us over. But yeah, what I am really looking forward to is seeing all these teams, you know, the top teams from each region going head to head once again.
The sort of question I guess I self-posed before in terms of another team like Astra, the only one I could see, and if we're just looking at PCS 1, 2, and 3, was MSC Theraton, who didn't play in the Charity Showdown from memory, made it in for PCS 1, PCS 2, and they've missed out for PCS 3. So that was the only other team that, with Astra, could have potentially joined the other 6 teams in participating in all 3 PCS events here in APAC. Regardless, looking ahead now, looking to the future, which is, of course, PCS 3. We've got 24 games. We start at 0. Jordan, it's pretty simple. You want to get off to a good start. I think we say it almost every event. It's literally cannot be understated. The teams that have gone on and won each PCS APAC event have started well. There hasn't been anyone that's sort of come from behind. Fury has almost done it twice, and maybe that is the difference here. Fury have got to start well this time because PCS 2, PCS 1, they started slow, and they had to make their way back. Obviously, as we saw in PCS 2, very dramatic fashion, just falling short by literally a kill point or a placement point, and every game matters. Got to start strong.
Yeah, it is interesting, isn't it? Because it's a bit of a different feel coming into this one, I think, for Fury. Obviously, I haven't spoken to any of the players in relation to this, but at least from my perspective, and I think the community's perspective as well, there is a bit more pressure maybe on Fury this time. Going into Charity Showdown and PCS 1, I think they were expected to be a solid team. They were expected to be at least a top 8 team, but they weren't necessarily expected to be the number 1 team or the team that's going to really make a really, really solid number 1 sort of run. obviously based on their performance in PCS2, and if you even take a look at the projections that PUBG Analytics did, they are actually expected to be one of the top teams, if not the top team in this competition. I'm sure that's something that we'll get into when we do dive into game one and we get, the standings up there and all that sort of stuff. But looking at the projections and, based on my personal feelings as well, I think he's pretty on the money here. Fury, Buriram, Divine up towards the top 3 in terms of the projections there. I would definitely look towards Fury and Buriram. I think Divine, maybe a little bit more inconsistent than both Fury and Buriram. But if you look back at both of those two in terms of their results so far in this kind of competition, in Charity Showdown at PCS 1 and 2, third, second, and third for Buriram. So, incredible consistency coming out from them there. And then for Fury, they go on 10th, 4th, and then 2nd. So they're getting better as they go along. And now there is only one step further to go for Fury. You can't get much better than 2nd. And in order to do that, in order to kind of keep that rise happening, they have to win.
Well, you mentioned 2 of the 3 teams that I want to have a bit of a focus on, not just for tonight, but really the tournament as a whole, which is Fury, LG Divine, and Buriram United Esports. In my eyes, I think they're the top 3 for very different reasons. Buriram United, as you mentioned, they're stable, 3rd, 2nd, and 3rd. Fury, the ever-improving team. Divine, the inconsistent team. But one of the notes that we had written down, actually, for PCS2 APAC was inconsistent team, but at their best, they can win APAC. And what did they do? They won APAC because they played their best PUBG. So for me, I think it's pretty simple. If Divine bring their utmost best, they could do something that no team has been able to do in any region so far in 2020, and that's win a PCS event 2 times. Not only that, but they would technically also win back-to-back PCS APAC events. So they're going to be up against it. The other thing, though, that they've already overcome was the PCS APAC curse for LG Divine. This is the first time that in the APAC region for PCS this year, a team's going to be able to defend their crown. PCS 1 didn't have the Charity Showdown winner. PCS 2 didn't have the PCS 1 winner. But PCS 3 does have the PCS 2 winner in LG Divine. They begin their title defense here on Miramar. Match number 1 of 24. And I'll repeat it one more time, Jordan. A highly good start is highly important.
It is indeed, and for all of those top 3 teams, we're going to be keeping our eyes peeled as to how they go over the course of the 4 games tonight. But there are plenty of other competitors. It's not just those 3 that can potentially make inroads. You think about Sharper, they're a team that managed 3rd in PCS1, so they're up there as well. They're a team that we need to keep an eye on. Bay, they've brought Jukes in, Flood traded out in that respect, but they were the team that came 5th in PCS2. Victim Rise is back. They were 4th in PCS2 as well. So there are plenty of teams. I'd say there's probably, I'm going to just throw out 7 or 8 teams within this competition, I think, that can come away with a victory and be able to really push towards the top end of things.
So you may have, I don't know if you've just noticed what I've done, but your beautiful GIF mug that was in our Discord chat was absolutely tripping me out. So I had to get rid of it.
Out. All I heard was coming through from Discord.
Well, that's why you put it on busy. Either way, let's get in game number 1, Miramar, which of course, for maybe those a little bit new to PUBG or not, it is typically a lot slower than Erangel for the beginning phase. One team, though, we are watching right now, Angel Alliance from the Philippines. It's going to be their first time here for PCS APAC. Usually it's Archangel Predator is actually usually our solidary Philippines team that typically makes it through. Angel Alliance was actually the team that finished 2nd in the Philippines series for PCS2. So they just missed out last time. This time they didn't miss out, and they're here to prove that the Philippines region can mix it with the big dogs, which I'm going to be brutally honest, though, Jordan, so far throughout 2020, it hasn't really been the best from what is usually Archangel Predator. I think except for Charity Showdown, they did overperform a little bit there.
Yeah, they had a good performance, if I do remember correctly, in Charity Showdown. It was 4th place, yeah. So just had a quick look back. They had 4th place. I think at one point they might have even been contesting for 1st. They had a very, very good start to the tournament. They had like 3 wins out of the first 10 games, which is an unreal conversion rate, 30%. That's something fairly unheard of, but it did fall off a little bit toward the end for them. So, I mean, I'm interested to see what this team from the Philippines is going to be able to do as well, Xenox. And I would probably agree with you. I don't think they're going to be a team towards the top end at the end of this competition. And one of the teams that is on our screen at the moment is Fury, looting up in Los Leones. They're definitely a team that you need to keep an eye on. Obviously, a little bit of a roster change coming through for them since last season. Well, I'm speaking of a team from the Philippines, bit of a driving error from them, but they're okay. Flipping that buggy back on over. But yeah, Flood going into the roster, Jukesy going out of the roster. I don't know what your thoughts are on that as far as it being an upgrade or a downgrade, but it's definitely still a solid roster regardless of what you're thinking is there, and expecting them to really perform this time. So I don't know if they're a team that's going to enjoy that kind of pressure, or if they maybe prefer to be a team that doesn't have too many eyes on them. One thing that I really have enjoyed about watching Fury in PCS is their consistency, and that's something that you mentioned in the pre-show. It's that they're not a team that, you know, and it's kind of almost a meme at this point, they're not a team that tends to pick up too many wins, right? So if they can convert some of the third, fourth places that they tend to get into wins, that could be really, really useful for them.
Well, they didn't get a win for PCS2 APAC, did they?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But they were one of the teams that like almost always seemed to be in the top 5 and almost always seemed to be getting 3 or 4 kills on the board, even if they had an awful game. And I think that's really important as well in terms of just keeping your games ticking over, keeping your points ticking over, and it at least gives you that feeling that, oh, you know, like we're in it, right? We're not getting completely banged out of the server here and there and getting nothing done in any given game. So that's one thing that I like about the brand of PUBG that Fury brings to the table, which is a little bit different to what some of these other teams do pick up. And some other teams, I think you can look at Buriram, for example, in that they have these massive, massive games. But then they also have these games where they go out with 0 points and you're just thinking, oh no, like that can really come back and bite you in the end. And it did for Buriram, right? They've been consistent towards the top. They've had third, second, and third, but they haven't been able to find a win, despite the fact that they have been one of the better teams for a very, very long time here in PCS. So maybe this is their time, right? For Buriram, maybe coming into PCS3, they'll finally be able to turn what has been good performances into a great performance.
Hydra Gaming, one of the new teams here for PCS3 APAC from Vietnam. Rabbit just got to be careful trying to bring back that pickup truck. They are inside of the circle here. We've got a very western circle for phase number 1, for game number 1. All the way out to Monte Nuevo. LG Divine, of course, are going to have a lot of eyes on them throughout this event as a whole. Nikki, Levi's, Namc. I don't believe that's a name change. Is Jun new to the roster? They had Turtle for PCS2. So I imagine there is a change there, and there's actually a knockdown there as well from Jun onto Rabbit. That'll be a safe revive, though, and you know, I guess it's the staple of Miramar, isn't it? Knockdowns early on, revives will come out. You can see the circle there on your screen. Ferox close by to Monte Nuevo. Chumacera open for now, which looks like Fury can push into there if they want. Daytrade Gaming to the south side of La Drulia in a really good position, and they're a good team to keep an eye on as well throughout this season of PCS APAC, as Bay are on the move. And sort of going back to an earlier topic you mentioned, the sort of Jukesy and Flood swap, because that's really what it is. It's a swap. Yeah. I mean, technically Jukesy was dropped and then Flood was acquired and then Jukesy went to Bay, but it's as if they actually swap teams. Look, it's an upgrade. I think Flood's the better player, but I think Jukesy in this environment for Bay can flourish. Less expectations as well. Can certainly just aim for a top 5 finish, and that is successful for Bay. I think Bay, though, of course, are going to want to win, but there's less expectations to do so, whereas Fury, now especially with the acquisition of Flood, who I think at the moment is probably the best player in Australia, that pressure, of course, of tying first in PCS2 APAC and now returning here for PCS3 APAC is going to be paramount. Another team that's had a bit of pressure throughout 2020, Cerberus Esports, and Jordan, they haven't lived up to it. They've got one final event to potentially get something out of this year.
They've had a bit of an interesting run, haven't they? Because we've always come into these PCS events and sort of said that Cerberus is one of the better looking teams. They're a team that we expect to perform. And I think it's largely due to the fact that we've seen a lot of them in PCS. They played since Charity Showdown. They were there for PCS 1 and 2. The problem is that their results have been a bit up and down, right? They had a 12th and a 13th in Charity Showdown and PCS 2 respectively. PCS 1 is where they really flourished. They got a 5th place there. And I think maybe there was that context around the PCS1 result where we thought that they might actually end up finishing off in first place, and then they had some roster issues. Hey, Saki had, you know, some personal issues that he wasn't able to play on the last day or the last 2 days or something like that, that sort of put a bit of a sour taste in their mouth and seemed to have slowed things down a little bit for them. But it's evident that the ability at the very least is there. If things are going their way, if they're performing well, at one point they were in first place in PCS1 and it looked like they would actually win PCS1. So it's one of those teams where I've looked at them and, you know, I don't tend to like to bandy the word of potential around, but I feel like that team is the epitome of that word and that kind of, not a meme, but that kind of a joke, right? It's you almost always come into a tournament and you always talk about teams with potential. Well, if there is one team in this 16, it's going to be Cerberus Esports for me. You know, they have had those kinds of positions, but the extenuating circumstances have forced them away from better results than what they might have had otherwise. So hoping to see them come back in here. And I think another thing to sort of, you know, put a tick in their book is the fact that they've been able to make it back into PCS again. You know, this is their 4th appearance. One of the few teams, well, I mean, few, 1 out of 6 teams that have made it to all 4 of these tournaments. So I think that speaks for something as well.
It certainly does. We've got our Phase 2 circle, by the way, already. Not a lot happening in Phase 1, no surprise there. Still a couple of teams with the late rotations. Division X Gaming up towards El Pozo, going to come in quite late from the future, which is not the same from the future from the previous event. Completely new roster, just the same name. Not sure if it's an actual organization or not, but regardless, they are back under that banner, just under new players. Miramar United, south of the Phase 2 circle, actually in very close proximity to Jumasera and Fury. Unicorn are also over there as well. Now, Hydra Gaming, we just saw them make the move. They go up north. They are close to Ferox, who are on the move already very quickly here, and not much of a surprise. These teams on the western side of what is essentially this Monte Nuevo highway do need to cross over and get over towards Ladrillia. Otherwise, they are going to get pinched, and they're going to find themselves in a bit of a death valley. LG Divine's a team that also needs to make their way over too. Battle Arena Elites, I'm not sure if pulling up early is what you want to do. Cerberus and these whites have got a good vantage point, but I think Neferhor more than anything right now is just providing a bit of an anchor so that the other 3 can move forward and have a little bit more freedom. But we are going to have this early engagement between Bay and Cerberus. Baz with the nade, surely goes with the underarm. Loki's does have to be careful because he throws that. It's going to go beyond the yonder. And it's Sophia who pushes up first. Does get the knockdown onto Subang. It's our first knock of the tournament. As tonight will actually third party and eliminate Basil. Cerberus down 1. There goes your dark horse already.
Indeed, indeed. Well, Bay definitely going to be happy to see that. They know that they've gotten rid of Subang. They know that one of the other players has been taken out by a third party as well. So they obviously do the math and they realize that there's only 2 players left in this compound. Subang, that kill gets stolen away from Bay by Genfos of VTR. But end of the day, I think if you're Bay here, yeah, you'd like the points. But at the end, what you really want at the end of this fight is just control of this compound and getting out of this one with all 4 players alive, because that sets you into a good position heading into the later stages of this game. If they get 1 or 2 points out of it, yes, bonus points, that's going to be good. But given where they were at on that rotation, things were looking a little bit dicey from them. I think you'd take it where they're at right now with all 4 players alive and a very high likelihood of keeping all 4 players alive if they play this one out correctly and trade well as they look to breach.
Yeah, they've already done the hard part, haven't they, crossing that road? Although this push is not looking good at all. Jukesy, Neferhor both knocked down. So Lolzy lolling his way back into the room. Loki's, though, finally does eliminate him before more damage has been done. Hosaki had a Molotov, but is too far back over at the shed. In fact, I think it even ended up Molotoving himself. Jukesy and Neferhor should get picked back up, but was looking a little bit dicey for a brief moment of time for Battle Arena Elites, but they do salvage the situation. They get the kill, they get the compound. They are on the very northern tip of this Phase 2 circle. In 15 seconds time, we'll find out if they're about to be rewarded or if they're going to have to get a move on down south, potentially 10 seconds until that Phase 3 circle as Neferhor is brought back up. 4 up, 1 kill, pretty good in the end.
Yeah, it seemed to almost be like a little bit of miscommunication there for Bay. I don't know if you picked up on it, but Loki's like turned around and looked in the room behind him instead of running straight into the room in front of him and finishing off the remaining player from Cerberus. But either way, works out pretty nicely. Still interested to see if something like that continues for Bay. Here's the circle shift for you, and it's gone fairly central nothing too crazy for game one, which is nice to see. It's good news for Bay because they're still inside of the circle. Other teams are going to be pretty happy with that. Are going to be the likes of Sharper Esport, who are sitting basically smack bang in the center of things, and Angel Alliance, the team from the Philippines.
This is intriguing to see Flood in action early on with that barrel against From the Future. Flood's going to be a tough task for them to deal with. Meep and Zuzu. That might just be my favorite name for 2020. Has been knocked down, and Flood's going for the execution already. Primed nade. Look at that. Just throwing straight through the window.
Oh.
The bounce. Oh, Flood. Celebrated his 13th birthday not too long ago. And looks to finish off 2 members are From the Future. And the other 2 members are just going to back out, back to where they came from. Other side of the road, and they're in disarray.
Yeah.
I should say it's not actually 13. It's just a running joke.
I hear Flood is actually taking part in Movember as well. So if you're interested in checking that one out, hit him
As
up
if he can do that.
on @FloodPUBG and ask him for some pictures of the new Mo. Not a great start for Fury. They've lost Ronan, so down a player here. Actually, potentially down 2. No, Waikakamukau is down in Chumasera. So it's a 2-1 split now for Fury, with Waikakamukau, if he does end up having to rotate back up to his teammates, needing to go through Purple Mood Esport. So it won't be a particularly enjoyable time.
Division X is actually a team we probably haven't spoken enough about, considering they are one of our winners earlier on in 2020 at some point. The same roster as well. They've got the potential to cause, upsets, essentially. There's a quick little pick and challenge code, by the way. Get that one in quick. But yeah, look, they are a team to keep an eye on. They can definitely cause spoil to what is, I guess, maybe the proverbial top 3 that we sort of touched on earlier, which there are a couple of teams like that. And we've already spoken about Cerberus at good length, even though having a bit of a tough one here for the first game. But Division X Gaming, you got Day Trade is another one too. Sharper Esports, formerly Golden Cat. It's a very, very tough lobby that I think we've gotten here for the final PCS3 APAC, because everyone should know each other a little bit more than, say, they did for Charity Showdown and PCS1 earlier on in 2020. There's the leaderboard, which of course will slowly update throughout the coming weeks. As it stands right now, we have got a couple of teams all tied in first.
We do indeed, and a couple of teams down to only a couple of players remaining. Cerberus with 1, FTF, that's From the Future, with 2. So those 2 teams are the ones that are really struggling at the moment. There's a nice little feed, though, for Heisaki. He still remains in the center of the circle there for Cerberus. He might be able to nab a placement point or 2 here. The teams that I'm interested to see where things go from here for are the ones down towards Chumasera, the likes of Buriram, Fury, Purple Mood Esport. Those are the 3 that coming in. You look at them and you think maybe only 2 out of 3 of these are going to make it in, and already starting to see that come to a head here as Waikakamukau and Insight get a couple of knocks onto some Purple Mood players. Mad Dog struggling to steal the kill away, but will get it onto Bossons. So that's a point on the board for Angel Alliance. In fact, a couple of points on the board for Angel Alliance. The team from the Philippines at the top of the standings at the moment, alongside Fury. Interestingly enough, the team that they were taking the points from. So, yeah, it's an interesting start, isn't it, for Fury? Because it's always nice to see them, in a way, being involved in these fights early on, because that's something that we've sort of always associated them with, is being able to get a lot of points early on in these kind of early game fights. But on the same token, they have lost a player for it. So we'll see how they do negotiate things from here. Nordra, one of the players to watch, definitely, in PCS APAC, is getting off to a decent start alongside Buriram. Forces Rocky Gyms right into Kanaxi, who will make short work of him, and Buriram get themselves a point on the board as well. And that is a very nice grenade. That's the end of Purple Mood. And just as I said at Xenox, only 2 out of 3 of the teams from Chumasera are going to make it into this circle, and it seems that will be Buriram and Fury. Not too surprising, considering those are 2 of the top teams in PCS APAC.
Well, this is the thing. Is Buriram United ready to take this next step and get this win at a PCS event? They've been close so many times before. Always the bridesmaid, never the bride, is usually the terminology for it. But this time could be the time for Buriram United. Typically carrying the fate of Thailand on their shoulders towards the back end of the season. Well, Simon just going to send Sophia back prone, going for a heal. We're into phase 4 now. Minute and 5 seconds until phase 5. Day trade looking great. I think you mentioned before, Sharper Esports as well in a really good position. Angel Alliance as well. I love their spot on the eastern side of the circle. They can look down to the south, which Buriram and Fury are going toe-to-toe. And it is going to be Canaxi and Edie eliminating Insight. That means they're just down to 2 players here for Fury. Not the best start. I know they've got 2 points, but you want to start well. I don't know how many times I'm going to say it tonight. Probably a few more, Jordan, but it just goes without saying that, you know, as we've seen throughout the year, if you start well, you give yourself a chance to win. If you don't start well, it's a long climb back. There goes Flood and Waika Kamukau actually to Algin bots of Angel Alliance, and they take first spot back for the time being. 4 up still for Bait. They do have Hydra Gaming on their doorstep, though. Nades in. Loki's going to try and lead the front line here for Battle Arena Elites. Jukesy's going to hold back, play that Overwatch position from the shed that they took earlier on in the piece. So the other 3 will hold the front 3 position. So it's kind of like a 3-1 split right now for Bay up against Hydra Gaming.
Brendan, in the meanwhile, has gone down to the blue, but this is the engagement that is going to make or break this game for both Hydra Gaming and Battle Arena Elites. The circle has shifted. It's gone south of both, so they both have to make a move, and neither really will feel comfortable doing that when they have the other at their back. It's Bay that have the high ground, and one could argue a slightly better position because they can kind of cover off Hydra Gaming. Hydra Gaming has to sort of come past Bay to get into the circle. But it seems like Bay isn't too eager to start this fight off either. Loki's maybe now with this flanking maneuver might be able to get around the side, potentially of Simon if it's not being covered off. This could be the opener that Bay is looking for. Loki's having spotted one out. Big spray through. In the meanwhile, actually a grenade lands on top of Neferhor, and Loki's can't land all the shots that he needs. So Bay are just going to have to give this one up. They'll have to give Neferhor up, and I think that's where you just cut your losses and decide, let's get out of here. Try and get into the circle and play this one out with 3.
Yeah, it's a strange one. I mean, they didn't get any favors from the circle here for phase 5. We're definitely going down to the south. They have to move, but they just had to hold the position. They really had the better position here against Hydra Gaming. Sophia's just going to try and wait, but this blue zone is not going to tickle. It's going to start to really hurt. Does get the knockdown onto Simon, goes for the quick flush. Essentially just trading 1 for 1, which I don't mind in this situation because Sophia was going to go down to the blue. They're so far away. Loki's got back, got the vehicle along with Jukesy. They could move forward, but Sophia was not getting out of there and at least does secure a point for Battle Arena Elites. Gets them to 2. They've got 2 still alive. They move forward. They actually are inside of the circle as well in this shack. So not the worst case scenario considering Hydra Gaming have only got 2 left. They're both running in close to the blue. They're about to run into Magic Esports as well. They are in a far worse off position. LG Divine, though, from above here on Ladrillia, they do have this high ground advantage against Ferox, who we have not really seen Ferox at all. And I hope that's not going to be the case. I hope they're not going to play passive and scared throughout PCS APAC. They have to be aggressive. They've got to make sure that they don't hold themselves back. They're down to 1 player in this game. Not the start they would have been looking for versus a team that's kind of making their debut here. Angel Alliance are having a great start. 4 kills, 4 alive, good position, and they now can wipe out Victim Rise.
Well, they do have something in common with Archangel Predator, the other team from the Philippines, and that's Angel in the name. Now, if they can continue to bring that same performance that we saw from Archangel Predator in their first PCS run, which was in Charity Showdown, we will probably see a pretty good placing from them. They're at the top at the moment. Obviously, it's early days, only 4 points on the board. It's nothing to get too excited about just yet, but it's some good early signs from this roster from the Philippines. So looking forward to seeing what they can do. We see Ferox being eliminated in 12th place as well. So they're out of the picture. Both of the teams from the Oceanic region out early on in the piece. Bay still somewhat flying that flag with Jukesy still alive. But Angel Alliance are the team that's sort of setting this lobby alight at the moment. Another team to keep an eye on, Sharper Esports. We sort of mentioned them a bit earlier. They got a team wipe just before, and they're up to 6 points as well. So that's Golden Cat, as you might know them from the past. Definitely a team that can really push the issue toward the top end of things. And I wouldn't be surprised to see them fighting for first place as well.
Yeah, they've got a great position. So not only have they got this early on, they're actually going to be able to probably get more kills as this match goes on. This is match 1, by the way, if you've just tuned in. Match 1 of 24 throughout this month. 4 games a night, so 2 Miramar and then 2 Erangel to close off the night. As Angel Alliance, I almost called them Archangel Alliance. Angel Alliance just trying to gatekeep Victim Rise, who have been able to sort of sneak out the back door here. Just as that blue is making its way in here for phase number 6. Mad Dog, though, he's already got 2 kills, looking for a third one onto Genfos. They do send it over to the shack. It's not really the place to be. They are also in the vicinity of Loki's and Jukesy. The thing is, though, they're now going to be in the sightlines of Angel Alliance as well. But Bay might be the ones to capitalize, pick up some kills, especially if they've got a nade, throw it right into that shack. But I'm not seeing anything in the kill feed, so I'm thinking they haven't got a nade, or at the very least, have not been able to capitalize. So we turn our attentions now over to Day Trade Gaming. No kills yet, 4 players alive, Poo Chills. And they can do some work from this position. South side of the circle, but they're inside. And they can gatekeep Unicorn Cyber, one of the popular teams. Best 1301, knocked, getting revived. There goes Loki's and Jukesy for Bay. They ended up losing out, as Angel Alliance also take on the fight against Miramar. LG Divine making their way in, and all of a sudden, Jordan, it has just turned up a notch here in the kitchen.
That's how things tend to go once we get into circles 5, 6, 7. Once they really start to shrink and force teams into closer engagements, you are going to see a lot more of those kills getting converted on a map like Miramar than what you do early on in the piece, which does tend to end up being early on more of these sort of snipey kind of a duels where the reses are generally pretty easy to get. Now, not quite so much, as everyone's forced into close quarters combat, and you can see the grenades, the distance, obviously, that they can be thrown, having a pretty good impact on how some of these fights are playing out. It's Buriram that are trying to get that snowball rolling down the hill pretty quickly. Game 1 looking pretty good for them here. They've got 4 players alive. They're on top of Angel Alliance. They have a player advantage, and they've been fragging out so far as well. So definitely the start that Buriram were looking. Can they convert it, though, in Game 1 on PCS3? Yeah. That is the main question for me.
It's a really good question, considering Buriram United, I guess throughout the year, have maybe struggled to find kills and wins. Despite being consistent in terms of leaderboards, sometimes they can be inconsistent through the games. Mad Dog has been great so far. Did get 1. Evil Patrick also got a refrag after he was knocked. Nan, who was the last one standing, though, for Angel Alliance. They were in a 3 versus 4 situation. They've come up pretty good here, but not good enough. Buriram still have got God Meow, Kanaxi, and Edie, and it's actually from the future. We're also pushing over to this position. God Meow, though, will eliminate Angel Alliance, and they might just even have some more fodder rocking up to the doorstep here in from the future. They got 1. Edie's going to get Monotica as Day Trade, or also now pushing in on this. They hear the shots, they hear the gunfire, they want a third party. This fight, and Buriram are up for the task. Even without Nordra, they've still got 3 up. They're still a force to be reckoned with. Edie has also got this high ground, as Veronica does get the bleed out onto Genfos. The rest of Buriram do have to be mindful, though, of the time. That blue, it's moving in. They're the closest ones to it. They have to push forward into this. So they're going to look for a knock. Once they find that knock, it's go time, as they, I guess, just try and salvage what they can from these dead bodies.
Yeah, need to be aware of Gypsy Danger right below Edie. Surely he spots him out. He will. That's the end of From the Future. 8th place, the first team to secure that placement point, and everyone else now beyond them going to be getting the same or more. This was never going to be a win for Buriram. The run that they had to take to get into the circle was so difficult, but at the very least, Xenox, 10 points on the board for game number 1 is not going to be too shabby at all. You'll take that there. They had like 2 or 3 teams to actually get through and to come away with even more kills. Yeah, not being able to get into the circle, not being able to play the late game out here is a little unfortunate, but 11 points. You talk about what kind of average you need over the course of a season to be up towards the top, and it's something like 8 to 10 points on average is generally going to be enough to actually get you first place. So Buriram with 11, very, very good.
It's not easy to get 8 to 10 points a game, but that's typically what ends up happening. Now, Sharper Esport, 6 kills so far, courtesy of Tenoit. Division X, this is almost like a charity showdown / PCS1 showdown at the moment between these 2 teams, formerly Golden Cat, Sharper Esport versus Division X Gaming. Neil's been knocked down by Kamal, so that's Victim Rise. Now, that's actually from the other side of the circle here for Phase 8. It has really shrunk down. Maximus, though, going for the reload, doesn't have enough time because Long K. Oh, he just picked up a triple kill! Oh, baby!
serious?
An early triple highlight from Long K of Division X Gaming. He literally caught that man jumping down behind him from top of the roof. And he's just eliminated Sharper Esports down to 5 teams remaining here for match 1.
That was insane from Long K. You don't see something like that every day, and it's kept Division X Gaming in the game, and it might even give them the lead after game 1 of PCS3. Definitely off to a great start. One of the teams that has had really, really good performances in PCS APAC before, and we're expecting big things from them again. And if they can bring that kind of gameplay to the front, then we'll definitely be seeing it. Day Trade, Victim Rise, down with 2 players as well. LG Divine as well. And Cerberus. They've got Heisaki. Remember, Cerberus was the team that had the worst of starts here for game 1. And yet, they are one of the teams that is going to get some decent points on the board. They're up to 9th place at the moment. Maybe some more placement points even available for them. Maybe a cheeky kill point here or there for Heisaki. Every point matters in a game like this. Long K, well, he had a pretty damn good play just before, but that one didn't last long because he's driven right in front of LG Divine and he's been picked up quite easily by an AMC. Does leave his teammate alone, but either way, Division X Gaming, 8 points, 8 kill points, and 11 points total. It's not a bad start for them at all here in PCS3 either.
Yeah, not much Fergus is going to be able to do as well up on this high ground. He's not getting down that blue. May as well just go down to the blue. Wants to try and maybe hold on for a second, see if it gets him into the top 4. Doesn't work out that way though, Fergus. It's going to be 5th place for Division X Gaming. Fortunately, they did their work through getting those kills. And they will remain tied with Miramar United after the first match, both on 11. Flash onto Flash. And the smoke, though, at least providing that visible cover, I guess. Kamal's still alive for Victim Rise, although not for much longer. Heisaki has risen up from the grave. He's been quiet for the entire match, but has now got Cerberus up to 7 points. Now spotted, though, by Poochills. One final frag grenade in the hand of Poochills. I feel like... Oh my god, what a name for Poochills. I feel like we're about to give $1 million away on who wants to be a millionaire.
Yeah, this music is intense, but that grenade also just bouncing off his head. Heisaki not having a good time there. 2v2 though. Get hyped, ladies and gentlemen. It is the final stages of game 1 of PCS3 APAC. It's a 2-on-2 between Day Trade Gaming and LG Divine. Bearing in mind, LG Divine are the defending champions in PCS APAC. So if they can start off with a win, get themselves to the top of the scoreboard, that would be great. And that is a good way to start the 2v2. NAMC puts Poochills to bed, and it is now a 1-on-2 for Flash to negotiate.
Levi is an NAMC looking to take the first chicken dinner of PCS3 APAC. Sort of picking up where they left off from PCS APAC number 2. That's winning. That's what LG Divine do, and they do it quite well. They will take the first win for PCS3 APAC. They will take top spot as well after match number 1. They were first in PCS2 APAC, and right now they're first in PCS3 APAC.
Yeah, what a great performance. What a great start for them. 5-kill win. It's pretty damn solid coming out there from Divine. 15 points in game number 1. And we've talked about it already. I mean, the consistency that you need, 8 to 10 points roughly a game, 15 well above that. It sort of puts what Buriram was doing earlier on in that game a little bit to shame. Obviously, Buriram unfortunately not able to convert their great start into a win. Bit of a different storyline for Divine. It was a slower start. They weren't quite in the engagements as much through the middle stages of the game. And that's worked out very nicely for them. We'll jump into some replays here. But for me, it is a nice way to start off PCS3, Xenox. You know, you've got the defending champions, and it looks like they're going to be leading from the front here in PCS3 as well. So it's going to be a case of everyone trying to play catch-up, everyone trying to chase them down and see if they can deny that back-to-back victory.
Yeah, well, long way to go. Of course, another 23 games to be played, but you don't want to be giving Divine any sort of an advantage, and right now I guess they've got a very slight one at that. We know what they're capable of at their best. They can very much win this whole thing. They can win it comfortably. I mean, for the first half of PCS2 APAC, they were doing just that before they did have that slowdown, of course, which allowed that comeback from Fury. Hisaki did end up picking up some very valuable points in this match for Cerberus Esports, gets them into the top 8 for now on 7 points. Considering the very, very beginning of that match for them, I think they would have taken that, all things considered. Well done to him for that little solo effort. But it was LG Divine taking home the first chicken dinner, match 1 here for PCS3 APAC. And as I said before, Jordan, they just picked up really where they left off.
Yeah, it's not too surprising either to see a lot of the names toward the top of the standings that we do see already. Divine, we've seen them every single season. We've seen Miramar every single season. Division X Gaming, they won Charity Showdown. So 3 out of the top 4 teams have been really consistent names within PCS. Even Daytrade, now that I look at it. So it's just pretty much everyone that's made it into the top 7 even. Have actually been here for the long haul since Charity Showdown, more or less. Sharper Esport, they missed out on PCS2, but known as Golden Cat in Charity Showdown PCS1, they did really well for themselves, 6th and 3rd there. So not too surprising to see them getting off to a good start as well. And I do feel pretty happy about having spoken about Sharper to the extent that we have, because they're a team that I think deserves that kind of recognition, even despite the roster change, even despite the name change. They are a team to keep an eye on, and it's not a surprise given the fact that, you know, they've had good performances in the past. Bring them back again. Not a surprise to see them having good performances again.
Certainly going to be a very difficult top 7 to break into, but plenty of games to do just that. We're going to go to a break. When we come back, match number 2. back, everybody, from the break. One game in the books, 3 to go tonight. Of course, Miramar coming up very, very shortly. LG Divine, though, Jordan, winners already on the books. They are in first place. How much longer, though, can they remain in first place? Can they go the whole way? All 24 matches?
Well, I don't know what you're asking me here, Xenox. Can they win all 24 matches? I'm going to go ahead and say no, they can't win all 24 matches. But can they win the season after 24 matches? Maybe they can. They're definitely looking good today. It wasn't, it wasn't like an astronomical performance or anything like that. It was like just a good, solid sort of baseline starting ground for Divine. They didn't necessarily frag out insanely. And then you look toward Buriram and their 10 kills and you think they're looking pretty scary at the moment as well. If they get a bit more of a favorable circle shift than what they did, what are they able to do with a game like that? So there are a few teams towards the top end that I think we do need to keep an eye on. Obviously, we need to keep an eye on the teams towards the bottom end of the standings as well, even regardless of a rougher start, because we are only in game number 1 of PCS3. So there is plenty of time for everyone to catch up, if they've had a bad start here or there. One thing that I did want to mention, we were talking a lot about Angel Alliance in that first game. They're sitting around 8th place at the moment. They had a pretty decent start. Eliza Taylor, who's one of the commentators from the Philippines, actually messaged me just after that game. And she told me that that roster is actually the sister team of Archangel Predator. So that's a little bit of, we were sort of talking or discussing the coincidence maybe as to why they sound fairly similar. And they seem to obviously both come from the same reason. It's no coincidence, obviously, there's Onyx. And if you'll remember, Mad Dog, the player that is on Angel Alliance, was actually the captain of Archangel Predator at one point in time as well. So, yeah, there's a lot of, I guess, intermingling between those teams when it comes to the Philippines region. Not too much of a surprise there.
No, I mean, it makes total sense. And now I feel better about the fact that I almost called them Archangel Alliance. And who knows, maybe 2021, there's the merchant name. I've already got it for them sorted out. Here's the damage stats, though, from match number 1. No surprise to see God, Meow, and Edie topping the top 2 positions, considering the 10 kills from Buriram United. They were actually the team to get double-digit kills. Everyone else on single digits. So very well spread out amount of points from match number 1, 15 points for Divine leading the way, but then the teams that are directly below them, 12, 11, 11, 9, and 9, it's not that big of a gap. It's not like they've just sort of blown everyone away after one match with like a 30-point banger or something incredible like that. So, good match. And as the teams that are in the top 6 or 7 are no surprises either. The one that is a bit of a surprise, I guess, is Fury. The other one also Bay, 11th and 10th respectively. They've got some work, I guess, cut out for them to try and get back into that top echelon.
Yeah, that said, a bad start isn't necessarily going to be indicative of what we're going to get to see from those two teams over the course of this season. Like we've said in the past, Fury is generally a very, very consistent roster. I think Bay is definitely a team that we're expecting to see towards at least the top 8 based on their run last time. They got 5th. They looked like a really solid competitor. So I think that is probably a bit more of an anomaly from both Bay and Fury to start things off. For the rest of the teams down between 9 and 16, I'd say I'm not hugely surprised to see a lot of those teams sort of having a bit of a rougher start. I think you do get, generally speaking, a lot of really, really solid teams towards the top end. They've soaked up a lot of the points, and a lot of the newer teams, a lot of the teams that we haven't seen performing quite as consistently over PCS APAC in 2020, they're sitting towards the bottom end of things after game number 1. But like we've said before, it is only game number 1, so how much can you really read into it?
Well, that's the thing. One match down, 23 to go, so I guess it's difficult to put too much of an emphasis on just one match, but you can put an emphasis on 2, 3, and 4. You need to start well. You need to bounce back if you're a team like Fury or Bay. You need to have a better performance compared to match 1. And if you're Divine, Day Trade, Buriram or Division X, I guess, in the top 4, it's about repeat performances. You spoke about, in terms of the average number of points you need per game if you're going to be winning. PCS APAC, it's around 8 to 10. Well, right now, you've got 6 teams that are already in that average mark. Who can continue that? That's the real question.
Many, many questions as well, Xenox. There are plenty.
There's always a lot.
There are plenty. Definitely on day 1, we come in with a lot, and we're hoping to answer them over the course of this season. Fairly nice plane path, though, here to start off game 2. Straight through the center of the map. Nothing to get overly disappointed with for really any team. Everyone's going to have the pick of their favorite location. You can really get anywhere with this kind of a drop. So I think that's pretty good as well to start things off. You don't want to see anything too crazy in the early or the late stages of the tournament. I think if we're going to get like a weird plane or if we're going to get a weird circle, I probably want to be seeing it around, you know, games 10, 11, something like that, where we're in the center of the pool. It doesn't feel like it makes that much of a difference, even though theoretically it can. End of the day, nothing too crazy there, at least to start things off. We'll have to see where this circle does initially start. And looks like we're going to have a potential repeat of what we saw in our first game, bang over Monte Nuovo. So at least all the teams are going to be pretty happy with what they need to do as far as the rotations are confirmed. And wow, I really like that, by the way. The fact that the pips swapped over. We've never had that kind of technology before, so that's awesome.
That was cool. Jordan is just like low-key geeking out right there. He's
Yeah.
like, oh wow, that was so cool. Talk about repeat performances, I guess. How about a repeat of circle number 1 here for our second and final game of Miramar of the night already? It's a bit like that, I guess, when you only play the 2 matches out of the 4 games, I guess, on a map. So we say goodbye to Miramar after this one. And it goes back to the old 4A, I guess. We bring it up a lot, but there are some teams that do perform a lot better on Miramar than they do on Erangel, for instance. Right now, I guess we don't have enough information to really go off of other than what we've seen from match number 1 and what we're about to see from match number 2. But typically, I would say after about 12 matches, that halfway point, you do get that understanding. It's like, okay, these guys are a little bit better on Miramar, and these guys are a little bit better on Erangel, and then your expectations kind of shift. Right now, we don't really have many expectations on a per map basis outside of, I guess, just teams like LG Divine, Miramar, Fury. You have your expectations based on previous results, but who knows? Maybe a team like Angel Alliance, Jordan, could potentially be a Miramar team.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, they are a team that sort of looked pretty decent towards the early stages of game 1. I didn't really catch how they went down in that game because that was the time where there was just chaos everywhere. You know, there was players dying left, right, and center, and I guess not too much of a surprise that they sort of got caught up in that mix. It's one of those things that sometimes you are just put in a position and there's not really much you can do about it apart from try to fight your way out. And they got some good points on the board, 5 points. I mean, it's not astronomical. It's nothing to get too, you know, excited about, but we start things off nicely. It's, like I said, it's nice to keep the scoreboard ticking over, even if it is 5 points a game. It's not enough to win the season, but it might be enough to make top 8, top 5. I don't know. We'll see what the projections are actually looking like, as a few shots do ring out across the map in game number 2. Yeah. I think you probably need about 6 or 7 points based on the projections to be hitting a top 5 placing.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Every team's got their different, I guess, expectations for themselves. Some will be happy with a top 5 placing. I mean, if you were to tell Angel Alliance, hey, by the end of it, you finish top 5, they would be wrapped. So, just all comes down to what is the internal expectations, I guess, for a team. You know, even sort of going back to PCS2 APAC, for a team like Fury, their internal expectation was first. But if they did get second or third, it wouldn't have been at the end of the world. So in a way, it wasn't that bad. Other teams, like if you're Miramar, surely first is really your only expectation here after many thirds and seconds. Obviously for LG Divine, their expectation is to go back-to-back. If I'm a team like probably Victim Rise, I'd be probably setting my expectation at top 5. So that's sort of where each team is different. As Unicorn Cyber, one of the popular teams in terms of the Pick'em challenges. We didn't see much of them in game number 1. 0 points, currently tied last with Ferox, so hard to really speak too much about them. It's the first time we've seen them, of course, this year for 2020. We'll see what they've got, I guess, here for match number 2.
Well, NAMC just having a bit of a cheeky peek. Watching his teammates rotate past as well, so he's kind of like the eagle up on the mountain, keeping an eye out for any enemies that his teammates might struggle with. Bay as well on that rotate in. Nothing too crazy happening at the start of game number 2. Picados, where Bay are going to be rotating past. There's FTF nearby, but again, not close enough to really be in a particularly dangerous position for either of these two teams. I think we're going to just see a bit of a slower start to Game 2, similar to what we saw in Game 1. Tends to be how Miramar plays out. LG Divine maybe has a bit of an insight. There's a team in front of them, but waiting for NAMC to catch up before they do anything silly.
Well, you say slower start. I do agree. Definitely agree. But it's going to be slightly different because you're not going to want to repeat the same mistakes from last time. LG Divine, in match number 1, they were on the very western portion of this circle, which is kind of where Division X are. There was a couple of teams actually around there. They realized very quickly, the circle ain't going over there. You don't want to position yourself there, so they've changed it up. And then whenever a team changes it up in a similar circle like this, they're bound to then run into someone else. So now it's like game number 1, Magic Esports had those sort of Alpozo fields free. Now all of a sudden they've got to deal with LG Divine. That's something different. That shakes it up a little bit. Of course, that's only phase number 1, and they don't have to get really too close. Loki's over at Power Grid here for Battle Arena Elites. They're going to want to also make sure they don't make the same mistakes. Last time they committed a little bit too hard to the northern side of the circle. Once it shifted down south, they were in a lot of trouble. But well, for the slow start, we may actually see a very early engagement nonetheless, as Victim Rise just above to From the Future. Samoy was low. He's now being able to heal back up. Gypsy Danger actually going to get right up into the face of this one against Chibaret, who has the advantage here. And Gemfos, though, with the angle, also helping out for Victim Rise. And not only have they got that high ground, but they've even got the flanks covered as well From the Future in disarray. And Sophia looking for the third party, looking to get involved and looking to capitalize and steal a kill or two away from Victim Rise.
Yeah, Bay have recognized the opportunity is there. You can see Nefahor also flanking around to the north. Kamal's just in front of Sophia, although I don't think Sophia is aware of that at the moment. Here should be a point on the board on offer for him. It's taken away, though, by Victim Rise. They'll confirm their kills. And From the Future, eliminated very early, so I'll eat my words. That one is definitely an explosive start. I thought things would start off slowly, but it's been anything but. And now Kamal's, courtesy of that northern flank from Nefahor, will perhaps suffer an untimely end to game number 2.
8.5 minutes gone. And From the Future will have to try their luck out, I guess, over on Erangel compared to Miramar. Didn't quite go too well. Just the 2 points from the first 2 games. And Bay, though, I guess, want to maybe potentially keep trying to follow along and find out where Victim Rise have sort of gone off to, but it's risky. It's phase 1. You don't really need to make those maneuvers just yet. I mean, you might even get a phase 2 feed over towards Power Grid, which would be great for Battle Arena Elites.
Ooh, that is a dirty one.
Get that, which has completely changed the landscape here for match number 2 dramatically. Division X Gaming basically get a gift. Ferox as well on this western portion of Monte Nuevo. Great spot to be. They are a little bit separate. May actually elect to group up here, pretty much expecting, I guess, the impending traffic coming into their location. Unicorn all the way to the bridge of Vaya del Mar, close to Purple Magic, but yeah, Purple Moon, I should say. Monte Nuevo, though, is going to be very, very busy in a minute.
Well, Purple Mood are going to need some Purple Magic if they do actually want to get into this circle fairly safely, because there's going to be a lot of teams headed straight in. If they're not there early, Purple Moon's going to get caught on the rotation. They're coming from down the south, which is not a great place to be. But luckily, they are one of the teams that's closer and earlier moving than most of the others. So they might be okay in that respect. But I do remember having a look at a circle similar to this in ANZ Champs. We sort of nicknamed it Death Valley because it really does feel like that. Once the circle starts to shrink, if it goes even further over toward the west, there's just that one road. And it's like a valley in between 2 hills. And if you're in there, you're dead. If you're not, you're probably still dead because there isn't that much real estate actually to take up on this area of the map. Ferox under pressure, not only from one team, but from 2 by the looks of things. Booraram also copping some shots there, courtesy of Sophia, as they rotate their way in. And this is going to be a storyline that we see for the rest of Game 2. It's just going to be constant fighting with a circle like this. When you consider 25% of the circle is just unplayable terrain because of the mountain out to the west, there's just so much less room to play for everyone, and they're going to be on top of each other a lot earlier than you would expect them to be normally.
11 minutes has now transpired. Minute and a half till phase 3, which I'm absolutely curious to see how that one is going to shape up, considering what we've seen here for phase 2. That net goes straight in. Doesn't quite catch Rain. Does take a little bit of damage, but not a lot. Tanoi going to go for a second one. That one's going to obviously miss the mark. The Molotov inside will miss the mark as well. Isaki for Cerberus Esports looking to get involved as well. South portion of Monte Nuevo. Kim Siva for Sharper Esport. And to be fair, I think Ferox have done really well here, all things considered. They've got that 2-2 split. It's obviously been Bryn and Rain having to deal with the brunt of the damage from Sharper Esport. Bryn has to be precise here with that Scar. Unfortunately, doesn't get the knockdown he was looking for. Even despite the help they're getting from this third party as well. Not able to capitalize. Rain just under so much pressure. Maximus, Kinsiva, they're all pushing in for Sharper Esports. 6-Axe was knocked. Tanoi obviously died at some point throughout that, courtesy of Isaki. And Ferox, Sweet Soul and Monty doing as much as possible. But unfortunately, they have to say goodbye to their brethren on the other side of these fields. 30 seconds till phase 3, and not the start again Ferox are looking for.
Yeah, they definitely get punished for the 2-2 split that they had there. Would have probably been better off just all grouping up. I know that's an easy thing to say in hindsight, but considering the fact that this is a circle that doesn't have that many compounds, it doesn't have that much real estate, the chances are teams are going to be looking to breach if they're not in a safe position already, and that is what has happened to Ferox. So, unfortunately, they lose a couple. It's not the end of the world for them, though, because, as you're going to see here, Circle Shift is going to go right on top of them, and they do still have a couple of players alive, and 2 is better than 1, which is better than 0. It's still enough to play this game out and potentially get some points on the board. The teams that aren't too happy to see a shift like that, Purple Moody Sport, you sort of mentioned them a little bit earlier. Again, they're going to have to be on the mood. Division X Gaming, down to the southern part of the circle. It's not awful for them, but they gave up the compound that LG Divine is now in. And I'm quite interested to see what LG Divine can do with this one, because if they're able to get away with a very good finish again, Division X Gaming might be kicking themselves for the 50-50 that they had to make to get all 4 players into a similar position.
It feels like, though, at some point, a team surely is going to breach the 2 members of Ferox. It's a great position for this circle. LG Divide, if it does go north, they can actually take the hill as well, above Ferox too. So that is certainly going to be a playground at some point later on, depending on, of course, the way that this circle continues to shift. There are a lot of teams already down to the south. Miramar and Magic Esports inside of Monte Nuevo. Victim Rise, Samoy and Genforce making their way over as well. No kills yet for Angel Alliance, but they got 4 up. They're close by to Unicorn Cyber. I guess from what we've seen over the first 2 matches as well, we'll probably back Angel Alliance in this fight as well. Nan does land the first tag, but 2 ends? Tunes? I'm not even going to bother again there, Jordan. I've messed that one up completely.
Dude, I know, anytime you get yourself into a situation like that, I just leave it because there's no saving you.
Yeah. No. No saving Best 1-3-0-1 either. Mad Dog finding that elimination, and Mad Dog just continues to be the Mad Dog for Angel Alliance. Finding frags in game 1 and now getting on the board here for game number 2 as well. I'm not sure if Unicorn are going to make it out here alive. Angel Alliance basically have nowhere else to go but those buildings in front of them. Waikiki Mukau from a distance, though, getting involved. They've lost Flood at some point earlier on. Fury down to 3. And not the start to their campaign as well either. And for the Oceanic teams, it's a bit disappointing right now.
Well, that's not to say that it will remain that way. It's an aggressive 1-1-1 split from Fury. We know that they're a team that does like to cover a lot of ground. See where this next circle shift does go. I think that's going to tell us a lot, just based on the fact that there's this sort of no man's land in the middle of the circle right now. Unless you're Ferox, who is sort of locking down one of the compounds, or Sharper Esport, who's locking down the other. You can see there that field in the middle. It's quite difficult terrain to cross. So if this goes north or south or west or east, it's going to be really rough. And it actually ends up going over Monte Nuevo. So that's a really dirty one indeed. It's great news for Fury, though. They have all 3 of their players in. They don't have to move at all. Same for Ferox, keeping their 2 players there. Cerberus, Buriram, 4 players alive on the eastern side of Monte Nuevo. But LG Divine, Division X, Purple Mood, all those teams starting to come in from the western side of the map, the northern side of the map, the southern side of the map. Basically, if you weren't east, you were left, right, out. And unfortunately, that means we're going to see a few teams making a fairly quick exit, I'd say, here. LG Divine do the smart thing, though. They move early, lock down at least a position before the rest of the teams make their move. And it's the teams generally that move last that tend not to last long, because everyone else is going to be looking in their direction and quite safe in their compound. So here comes Purple Mood, reaching onto Ferox. They might have the knowledge that this is only 2 players if they've been scouting that building well. And in that case, then that's not actually a bad shout from Purple Mood. 4v2, even though it's a late rotation in, you can definitely make that work.
Yeah, I think it's this south portion, though, where we're going to see fireworks. Unicorn, Angel Alliance, Division X as well, who I'm a little bit bewildered how they have found themselves in this position, considering they got the hard shift for Phase 1. They, I think, messed it up a little bit for Phase 2. Sweet Soul and Monty, though, their time potentially coming to an end here against Purple Mood. It is only a 2 versus 3, and look, they're inside of this compound. It's all up to Purple Mood to clear it. All it takes is that first knock, and then it's a 2 versus 2. May not be as easy as it's looks potentially for Purple Mood. There goes Unicorn Cyber. Unfortunately, they do meet their demise. They stay at the bottom of the leaderboard so far after the first 2 matches. LG Divine, they made that first pit stop. They moved over to the better spot, just on the outskirts here of Monty. Good spot here for LG Divine. Here's the situation, though, with Ferox and Purple Mood, who have used a lot of these smokes already so far. There's a nade for Monty. I said it before, though, Jordan, if they can find 1 knock, a 2 versus 2 here for Ferox looks good.
Finding that knock, though, is probably easier said than done, Xenox. Grenade missing just moments, ringing in his ears, you can hear, but no substantial damage. And I'd say, again, Ferox are probably happy to just let this one peter out for the moment. Bonotica gets a knock, but he's instantly traded down by Nan. Mandog will find that kill, get the point on the board.
He can get this
for Angel Alliance. Yes, he can. So, again, not a bad start for Angel Alliance. And code on the screen as well for those of you who might have tabbed away, not paying attention. Check that one out now.
Just the 1 kill so far for Division X Gaming, and as I said before as well, the position they're in right now is not good. Sightlines from Hydra Gaming, which apparently are very strong, because Simon not only gets the knock, but gets the flush as well onto Fergus from basically almost the northern side of the circle to the very far south, which is where Division X are at. Then they have to deal with Angel Alliance, potentially even Day Trade as well. I definitely wouldn't have pictured this match going the way it did when I first saw Division X in phase number 1 and the position that they had. As we see for phase 5, it does go towards Monty Nuevo once again, right on top of Cerberus Esports. Mad Dog from above does have a nade, but he can't really push down the hill to get to that shack to throw it in. Division X are going to have to move. Day Trade are going to have to move. And again, Angel Alliance themselves will have to move at some point too. And the other 2 teams that need to move as well, that have been doing the tango for the last couple of minutes, is Purple Mood and Ferox. That's going to have to really happen at some point. Oh no, Sophia's denied the window. Neferhor and Sophia have just been eliminated by Cerberus. And 43 alive as we get closer to the 20-minute mark. It's Loki's and Dukesy. Bay can continue to struggle as well here on Miramar.
They do, but luckily for them, we'll be moving on to Erangel after this, so maybe that will bring a welcome change. Either way, keep our attention turned to the teams that do remain here around Monte Nuevo. One of which is Division X Gaming, although I'm not sure how much longer IQ 500 is going to be able to last now that the blue is at his back. You can see the vehicle, damaged wheels, not going to be going too far. So he's going to have to run it in. Angel Alliance. I don't mind this spot that they've got, actually. They have a clear walk in. They've got the high ground. Should be feeling pretty happy. Ferox has just got a bunch of kills. Purple Mood, are they out of the picture? No, there's 1 player still alive? No, they are eliminated. So, yeah. Ferox won the 2-on-3 against Purple Mood. Didn't quite get to see it. But they'll be happy with that. Still, they've got a long run to make. Because they are still in the compound. And the compound is no longer inside of the circle, having seen it shift over Monte Nuevo now.
Yeah, I think the celebrations for Ferox will be very short-lived. as they have got probably the hardest path into the circle from here. They do have separate vehicles, but Levi's with a quick knock onto Sweet Soul, so that'll probably spell the end of that little push. Angel Alliance still with 3 up, 4 kills, do have to deal with the pushing day trade eventually at some point. They've got this high ground, but where do they go from here? They've got Bay, the duo for Bay down below. Cerberus and the vantage point that they've got have been very successful here for match number 2. So successful that they've shifted up into second place on the standings. 14 points, just the 1 point now behind LG Divine. Evil Patrick putting that SKS to good use when, well, the MK14 going to be more successful though from Mad Dog, who just continues to frag out. The first 2 matches, Jordan, he has been probably the standout out of almost all of the teams and players.
Well, I wouldn't disagree with you, Xenox, but I would say I'm potentially expecting that to change once this circle shift does come through. Right on top of LG Divine, I think you might start talking about a few of those players as well. Not to mention Buru Ram out to the western side of the map. They've been quiet so far in Game 2, but remember how they set that kill feed alight in Game 1. You cannot count them out. I think they're a team that's been flying under the radar here for Game 2, and I'm really just waiting for them to get their opportunity. Angel Alliance, they've had a good position. They've had a lot of shots on teams that are rotating in. They haven't really been forced into a high-pressure situation just yet. So they've been making good work happen as a result of that. They've been taking advantage of their opportunities. But now that they're one of those teams that's actually going to have to move and force their way in, the shoe might be on the other foot.
Very well could be, but look at that. 8 kills from Cerberus Esports. They have absolutely taken advantage of the situation they've been put in here for match number 2. There goes Team Ferox. Quickly following will be Battle Arena and Elite, which means we've got 8 teams remaining. 8 kills as well for Angel Alliance, and that will see them shift up into 3rd place, tied with Victim Rise. What a start to the tournament that they've had. It's been almost a fairy tale start, but it may be an evil ending here for match 2 because they have just gone straight into Cerberus Esports. Algen Bots could actually get the double revive here though, because Haisaki's not going to push to this position. It's Hydra Gaming from behind that might be the recipients of these kills if Angel Alliance are not careful.
Oh, that looks like it was going to be a good grenade. It's gone just a little bit too far, but the information is certainly given over to Angel Alliance. Not sure that it's going to do a whole lot of good, though. Hydra Gaming have landed right on top of them, and it's just Evil Patrick left alive. He's fighting hard. 2 knocks already for him. But how many more can he manage? Maybe better off just ensuring that he does get these 2 points on the board. Hydra Gaming have just backed off. Oh, Simon T, actually the last one alive, so it's a 1v1 here for Angel Alliance and Hydra Gaming.
And Evil Patrick's got certainly more to gain here as well. 2 dead bodies. That's going to be 1 confirmed kill, though, for Angel Alliance. They can actually take the lead here if Evil Patrick wins this 1 versus 1. He does have this very small ledge, and he uses it to his advantage to get that slight high ground. 11 kills for Angel Alliance. And the fairy tale run continues here in match 2. They're in top spot. The team from the Philippines are on fire right now. They can't be stopped, and that fire is not being put out. Cerberus, though, well, it looks as if they're going to be set ablaze. No, Sololzi will finish off Fury, who made the mad dash upwards, and they are going to be annihilated. 11 kills for Cerberus. They retake top spot, and right now it just feels like back and forth Cerberus and Angel Alliance in terms of finding these kills. 22 kills here in this second match between just those 2 teams, Jordan.
That's pretty insane numbers being put up, but that's where we're going to see things slow down now. Right over the top of Monte Nuevo, where all of the teams are going to have the pick of the buildings, exactly what they want. A lot of safety in those buildings. So, for anyone that's already in Monte Nuevo, they're expecting probably a top 3, top 4 kind of a finish here. Likes of Cerberus, which you mentioned, Angel Alliance. They've got a long road in, and even if they were to get in, there isn't really that much real estate left. It's kind of like Sydney. Everything's been bought up by the investors. And there's not a whole lot left for the guys running around looking for the scraps. So Evil Patrick I don't know how he gets in here. Like, he would have to somehow really just slip under the radar, get past LG Divine. Cerberus has a little bit of a chance, but coming from the high ground, they can sort of stay up there. They've got the southern part of the circle that they can play with, but for Patrick, down at the bottom of the cliff, it's just not a good-looking situation at all.
But this is what LG Divine do really good. They don't need to get the flashy kills early on. They get the wins. They get the chicken dinners. And they can find the kills here actually at the end. They've got 4 alive, so they're very well suited to win these fights. The only other team with 4 up is Buriram. They're on the other side, really, of the... I was going to say the map, really. It feels like a mini-map at the moment here in Monte Nuevo. But yeah, they're on the other side. They're not really going to engage unless it comes down to them being the last 2 teams. There's nothing Evil Patrick can really do from here. And I don't think you have any expectations. It's job done from him. I mean, Angel Alliance, what a game. What a first 2 matches that they've had so far on Miramar. He might be able to creep towards LG Divine, get 1 or 2 more. The goal is more than anything just to get placement points. Stay alive and hope that the likes of Buriram run into Magic Esports, Victim Rise, and LG Divine. They all sort of wipe each other out. And then little old Evil Patrick can then shoot up into the top 3, top 4 potentially in terms of placement points. But these teams are so far away from each other, and they've got these buildings, and it's only phase 8, and they're all inside. It's up to Cerberus to make something happen, as you can see on top of this hill. They have to come down, they have to make a play, but they're probably going to have a bunch of teams like Magic Esports and Victim Rise looking upwards, and I'm not sure where Evil Patrick fits up throughout all of this.
Yeah, definitely not going to be easy to get down for Cerberus, but Subang will be the one sent first. He is the sacrificial lamb, so to speak, and looks like he has actually managed to make it to relative safety. Unfortunately, said relative safety is not actually inside of the circle, so he's gotten down off the hill, but he hasn't really done a whole lot to improve his chances just yet. Evil Patrick,
smokes.
He can work this ridge for the moment. As long as no one else looks in his direction, Buriram will definitely be a problem. You can see the angle that they might have through those windows. But they're not looking at him at the moment. So Evil Patrick's given the opportunity to get the smokes down, which will provide him a little bit of extra time to play with. But either way, time is not going to be on his side.
He's doing a decent job, though, isn't he? He's still got 2 more smokes to use. Victim Rise are watching Cerberus. So is Buriram as well. Unfortunately for Cerberus, I don't think they're going to be able to get down the hill. It's only Basil that's still standing, and he's still on top of this hill. Now, Evil Patrick has 1 smoke left. Once he throws this, he might be able to get to it. He's actually in the blue right now. Has to be careful with where he's sort of maneuvering, and in the end does end up dying to Victim Rise. 5 teams remaining here for match number 2 of the day. The PCS3 APAC Jet Force looking to finish off Basil from Cerberus Esports. They're out. We're down to the top 4. We're into the music of doom. The music of excitement.
Doom. Oh, that was so eloquent from you, Xenox. It's great to be casting with you again, some PUBG.
Oh, God.
You're absolutely right, though. We are into the final stages of the game. That's where they bring the music up. That's where things get exciting. And it's a 4v4 v2 v2 at the moment, although Magic might be able to get one of their players up, and it looks they have been able to do that in the meanwhile. So, a bit of a better chance for them here. Circle will shrink fairly shortly. It's hard to say who has the best position at the moment, Xenox, because everyone's really just on the outskirts of the circle, sitting in their building. I'd maybe make the argument that LG Divine, having pushed out first, making that initial run, might be a little bit more central than everyone else.
Oh, man. This music is fitting right now, I think, with this ever presence of the pushing blue closing in on Victim Rise and Buriram, separated by thin paper walls. Edie waiting into the last second. Samoy looks behind him and sees that blue coming in. We've only got 1 minute and 18 seconds. 1 running through the hallway. That was Edie. Samoy couldn't capitalize, though, and now he can't even really follow him from behind. It's Nikki, though, for LG Divine. This is where they can put in the work. They've got the numbers. They've got the advantage. They've got the position. They can capitalize here, I think, more than... Look at the amount of smokes! Oh, you can't see anything! There is so many smokes! The nade! The nade! The smoke can't stop the nade! Alex with a double onto Edie and Canaxi. Magic Esports have just blown up Miramar United, but God Meow still alive. Jun for LG Divine still up. Of course, they've got the numbers here in the remaining moments of the second match. 4 up for LG Divine. Edie is going to bleed out. God Meow just trying to make a run. The mad dash. They can't see anything. They can't see what's in front of them. God Meow's gone. It's Miramar out in 4th. Jun up close. He's flashed. But it's the numbers. LG Divine have got the numbers. I think they're going to get the second chicken dinner back to back. Did I not say it about 5 minutes ago that this is where they put in the work? This is where they come up big. They don't need to get 10 kills in the first 20 minutes. They get the kills at the end, and they get the chicken dinner when it matters at the end. Big win for LG Divine. Yes. Whew.
What have I just witnessed, Xenos? That is one of the most bizarre finishes to a game of PUBG that I have ever seen. And I've been watching PUBG for a very, very long time. That was something else. I don't know how many smoke grenades were thrown in at the end there. It was, 20, 30, 40. Pick a number. It's a lucky dip. You pull something out, it's probably pretty close to it. But look, I think the key takeaway there is that Divine, even though they've got a really weird ending, they've got madness ensuing, chaos, they actually make it look pretty easy. A pretty comfortable win for them in the end. 2 wins back to back as well. And all of a sudden, they're throwing that gauntlet down to everyone else in PCS APAC here for PCS3. They're saying, we are back. We are here to defend our title, and we're ready to play. Back-to-back victories, already setting PCS3 alight.
Yeah. When you look up LG Divine in the dictionary, it's going to just have next to it winning, because that's what they do a lot of. They win. And when they're at their best, they are probably the best team in this lobby, in the region, I guess, as a whole. Obviously, PCS1, PCS2, inconsistencies, not PCS2, sorry, Chat Showdown and PCS1, inconsistencies plagued LG Divine. They rectified that in PCS2, and it looks as if they've carried that form now over to PCS3, looking to close out 2020, looking to get 2 event wins in a row here for PCS, and what a game number 2. Still a long way to go, don't get it wrong, but they just do it when it matters. Speaking of when it matters, Angel Alliance doing it very much here on Miramar when it mattered. What a good start to them here for the first 2 matches, and what a crazy, crazy finish. The amount of smokes thrown there, as you said, can't count them all. Otherwise, we'll be here all broadcast. Big win for LG Divine, Jordan. We've seen some good signs from some unexpected teams, I guess, the likes of Angel Alliance, for instance, continue to just sort of keep our eye on them. But now going over to Erangel, we'll ask the question, can they, of course, keep it up on a different map?
It's a very, very good question indeed. And on the point of Angel Alliance, they're obviously doing a pretty good job of following in the footsteps of Archangel Predator, sitting in 4th place at the moment. It was Archangel Predator that finished in 4th place in Charity Showdown. So again, if that trend continues, then definitely a good representative from the Philippines region. Hydra Gaming is another team that I'd probably throw a little bit of a shout out to. One of the newer faces to PCS APAC. We haven't seen them at this level of competition before, and they're sitting in 6th at the moment. So not doing too poorly for themselves, but it is a good point that you bring up there about Erangel. It's obviously the map that we're going to be moving on to for round 3 and 4. So for some of the teams that have struggled on Miramar, perhaps that's going to be a welcome change.
Potentially. I mean, at the same time, it might not be any different. You look at a team like Fury and where they're at these first 2 games, you do have to wonder potentially what their mental state is like right now, because it's not a good start, right? They've made roster changes, and I'm going to be blunt, in the past, Jordan, when this team makes roster changes, they're not quite successful, right? They said it before last time that the iteration that works best for them was that original 4. They no longer are in that original 4, and right now they're in 10th place, just 2 points gained from Miramar, which in past seasons has been a really, really good map for them. Obviously, wasn't the case. We'll see how they respond, and that's really what matters the most. That's the match leaderboard, though. 16 points from LG Divine, and just kind of like match number 1, a lot of their points coming from those placement points. They only had the 5 kills in match 1, and only now the 6 in match 2. Obviously, for Cerberus and Angel Alliance, not so much the placement points, but more so the kill points.
Indeed, indeed. Lots of teams running away with a lot of points out of that one. And you're right, kill points, I mean, they matter, right? If we go back to PCS2 APAC, I don't think I need to remind anyone exactly how much the kill points can potentially matter, because that is one of the tiebreakers, and it essentially comes down to that in a competition that is this close. So Cerberus and Angel Alliance doing a pretty good job of getting really, really nice amounts of kill points on the board there. Again, the other one to shout out, obviously, Hydra Gaming. Overall leaderboard, as you can see, we are establishing some leaders already. 2 chicken dinners on the board for LG Divine, up to 31 points out of 2 games. It's a really, really good start. Probably on par with what we saw from Q Confirm in that first season of PCS APAC, where they really just ran away with things. That was over the course of 4 or 5 games, though, for day 1. So whether or not Divine can keep up the pace for game 3 and 4 of tonight, we do still have to wait and see. But if they can do that, I mean, they might be able to have an even better season than the one that Q Confirm had, which was like after 10 games, it really looked like a foregone conclusion.
Yeah, obviously now I guess that's the talking point could very well be whether or not they slip up once again like they did in PCS2 APAC. Obviously they didn't slip up that much in the end though, because they did technically win. We're only 2 games in the books though. Now we're going to go to a break. When we come back, we head over to Erangel for our next 2 matches. We will see though if Divine can continue this tremendous start to PCS3 APAC. Well, Miramar is done and dusted. We're going to be heading over to the luscious green Erangel very, very shortly here for our 2 remaining matches of the opening night here for PCS3. Jordan, though, we were having a little bit of a conversation off air just quickly about one of the Oceanic teams in Fury and sort of where they're at after the first 2 games. Not a good start, 4 points, of course. For those unaware, they did finish second, but tied first, I guess, with PCS2 APAC. And it's been a dismal start so far on Miramar. Obviously, they've had the addition of Flood after they got rid of Jukesy. You just have to wonder if they can't respond here on Erangel tonight, where they're going to be at mentally going into tomorrow night.
Yeah, it's a bit of a rough start for them, isn't it? I mean, I think I take a little bit more of a... I don't know where I want to really go with this, but I take a little bit more of a lax look at it than I think you have. I'm not so much going all in on this. It's only 2 games. Admittedly, Miramar has been the map that, you know, we've seen Fury in the past perform a lot better on than they have on Erangel, so I don't think that speaks well to their chances moving into this second map of the pool, obviously, but... Again, it is only 2 games, and I really don't want to read too much into that. I think they're a team that has shown the tenacity to be able to bounce back from bad days. We saw it last season. They had the really, really bad day, I think, on day 2, and then they bounced back with like a 50 or 60-point day on day 3. So anyway, I mean, enough about Fury. Let's talk about these guys that are on the screen at the moment because they're the top 5 damage dealers for PCS3 so far. And
Evil Patrick.
Yeah, Evil Patrick's in there, but I was going to actually point out Heisaki for Cerberus Esports. Now, we did have that season where he was leading from the front, and that was the season which Cerberus looked like they were going to win, and that was also the season where Heisaki had those issues and he wasn't able to play on the last couple of days. So I wonder, you know, are we seeing a repeat of that? Hopefully not with the, you know, the extenuating circumstances towards the end. But if Heisaki goes insane for this Cerberus roster, are they a real title contender?
Yeah, I think looking, I definitely remember, I don't know if it was PCS1 or if it was PCS2, but it was about the second half of the season that he actually missed due to those personal issues. So, and that was a big loss. Once he left that roster, it was the end for Cerberus. They just collapsed from that point onwards. He's the star man, he's the front man. That's why he was top damage in match number 2. That's why Cerberus are kicking along at the top after our first 2 matches. We now head over to Erangel, though, for match number 3 of the night. Of course, there will be one more to play after this before we conclude day number 1. What a start, though, for LG Divine. 31 points. And this is the thing, though. You know, you mentioned before that we're only 2 games in, but it's a 27-point gap to them and Fury. Like, Fury are once again playing catch-up. They're playing from behind. And I mentioned that in the pre-show, that that's something they didn't want to have to happen. But this season, well, it's too late because it's already happened in just 2 matches. And it could extend even further here because right now, I don't know who's going to stop LG Divine. They could run away with this. It felt like PCS2, they were going to run away with it. At one point, it got up to like a 70 or 60-point gap. And then, of course, the comeback began. Maybe this time, they won't make the same mistake.
Well, luckily, it is a position that they are used to playing from, and they're generally able to make it work. Now, what is interesting immediately off the start, and I'm glad the observers have found out.
Hello.
It's the contest for Pachinki. Ferox and Magic are both contesting this town, and it is a town that you could theoretically say has enough buildings to allow 2 teams, but it is a fairly small town, so I'm quite interested to see whether this one is actually going to end up in a bloodbath or one team will concede.
Well, we are going to get a Sosnovka Island circle, although Fury actually going for their ult drop over towards Yasnaya rather than Sosnovka military base. So they might be just feeling a little tilted off that because typically they do loot down at military base. And they haven't really had the best of luck, I guess, in PCS APAC throughout the year with these sort of circles. They get it here, but they're not actually there. Of course, we'll keep an eye on the Magic Esports versus Ferox hot drop over in Pachinki, as you would kind of suspect they're probably just looting up right now. At some point, maybe one runs into another. But like you said, Jordan, they might just sort of back off at some point. They could both be playing, I guess, a game of chicken in a sense. And I guess sometimes these things happen. You know, you have your scrims. One team really wants Pachinki. The other one also really wants Pachinki. And there's maybe no clear winner. Well, then they just say, let's battle it out, I guess, in the main event. And that's what this main event is. The thing is, sometimes, though, one of the teams may not actually want to take the fight. They just want to loot up and then get out. Get the vehicle and then get out. But looking at this circle, I mean, Angel Alliance, I mentioned it before over on Miramar. Are they a Miramar-only team, or are they going to bring it on Erangel as well? This is really the perfect start to Erangel, more than anything that they could have had. As we look at the Pick'em challenge in terms of votes, I like this statistic. I like this little thing. I already know, I'm pretty sure number 1 is Unicorn Cyber.
Which is strange.
Apparently they've got a famous player on the team. I don't know. We haven't seen them participate. There they are. 83% of the votes. I'm going to say this right now for everyone watching. Do not vote Unicorn.
Yeah,
That's my one tip.
They're the only team that hasn't gotten a point so far in PCS3. I mean, it is only 2 games in, but yeah, I think it does speak for itself.
LG Divine is a great second option.
That's a good pick. Yep, that's a good pick. And Fury, admittedly, one would have thought would have been a good pick, but so far hasn't really been their day. Buriram's not a bad one either. I'd probably be looking at LG Divine and probably Buriram if I had to put my 2 votes in right at this second.
But you wouldn't, and you don't have to. For those who maybe first time playing along for the Pick'em challenges, you can, of course, wait. I'm not sure how much. I think it's actually at the halfway mark. I could be wrong. But you can, of course, check all of that in-game, and it tells you when the voting ends. So you don't have to do your vote right away. You can see how everything sort of plays out. And typically, out of the 4 regions, usually there's one sort of runaway winner. I think this time that might actually be Sonics from North America, from what I saw a little bit of. Unfortunately, shoot to kill, not looking too flash over there, as LG Divine going to make the cross over the Milta Bridge, and actually going to get free through Crossroads. No one's sitting over here. Bay already in the Sosnovka military base. Day Trader over. Magic Esports are over. Unicorn making their way over the Lighthouse Bridge. In terms of teams who have got a large distance to traverse, Hydra Gaming and Fury, the 2 furthest teams.
You know what I do find interesting, and you sort of mentioned it even there, is that Fury, they're in Yasnaya, Polyana. Normally, we've been seeing them drop towards the military island. And they haven't been having all that much luck when it comes to the circle shifts on Erangel. It tends to go off of military island. They didn't... I think they went a whole season without it going down there once when they dropped there pretty much every game. This time they've gone up to Yaz, and now it's gone straight down to military. So maybe they're just cursed in that respect. Big rotation to make for them, as you do mention.
Is it
FTF as well?
No, sorry. I was almost talking to myself then. I forgot I was actually casting for a second. Purple Magic rotating. These things happen, Jordan.
What is going on? What? Oh, jeez, that scared me.
He just wanted the dramatic style points. Buriram finally got a boat. They're all good. No issues. Don't worry, Jordan. Calm down. As Venotica spots a couple of cheeky boys in the middle of the ocean here. Triple X actually going to be eliminated. The Venotica on the board, that's going to be the first death of match number 3. Can Venotica find any more here? That 8 times being put to good use. Probably no more.
Oh, well, the attempt's going to be there, that's for sure. This is not fun for FTF. You know, look, it's always going to be tough rotating in on a boat, but when there's a team camping you on that rotate in as well, and they are not giving this one up. Urin's driving forward in that UAS, decides he wants to get himself another angle here. Big spray coming through from the barrel. I don't know how healthy that boat is at this point. Looks okay for now, but sooner or later, FTF is going to have to come in. It looks like, from what I can see on the map here, they're probably pretty safe now. There's no one sort of occupying the center of the military island toward the south down here by the dock. So they'll be able to get in there okay.
I was actually watching the North America stream, I think it was maybe this morning, and there's the discussion between Poro and Cami about what they wanted to call this new dock, as you mentioned. And I was thinking, what about Mini Novo?
That's not bad.
Yeah, because it doesn't actually have a name. It was obviously added with the new Erangel. Mip and Zuzu, my favorite name of 2020, is still being watched by Venotica. I'm not sure what the goal is here, because Mip and Zuzu is not going anywhere.
Yeah. I think he's done so. That's Nandu, by the way. He did play on From the Future last season, if I remember correctly. I think he's just going to give his life up here.
Yep. He's going to sleep with the fishes. Oh, Algin bots. Could he get an early knock onto Levi's? That would be horrible for LG Divine. Levi's just trying to get as much information here in this little drive-by. Does, of course, have the reinforcements arriving. NMC pushing right onto Elgin bots. The Angel Alliance, I think this is a one-player show at the moment. The other three you can see on the expanded minimap further north. And, well, I'll talk about a combination there from LG Divine. They're on the board early in match number 3.
Well, they're also in an interesting position, aren't they? It's fairly center in the circle, actually, where they are right now, but there's a lot of teams around them, and it's just one small building. So, won't be a bad one to lock down if the circle shifts on top of them, because there's a lot of open field sort of around that house. But if they have to move, sooner or later, they'll find themselves in a bit more of a problematic situation. Either way, speaking of problematic situations, I thought Fury might be in one with the rotation that they had to make from Yasnaya. But hey, they dealt with the bridge camp last season. They don't need to deal with it this season. So they've been given a bit of a reprieve. There's no one actually on the bridge. You can see they're quite wary of something potentially happening, though. And they scouted it initially. Waikikamukaus going first in the motorbike. A little bit tougher to hit, maybe, than the guys in the car. He's a bit quicker. But Fury will get across okay. There is no one camping the bridge, so don't worry about that. You'll see that there on the map as well. This one has to go south, and it does. Ferox, Hydra Gaming, Victim Rise, Division X Gaming. The 4 teams that haven't made it over to the island just yet, and the 4 teams that are probably going to find it quite difficult to actually make it onto the island now.
I mean, there's still a lot of space. You're going to have the teams on the sort of more western portion of this new circle for Phase 2. They're going to obviously shift inward, so that's going to open things up a bit for the likes of Day Trade, Division X, as they come from Primorsk. Obviously, they're not going to have the best positions. They're going to have to play from edge, clear along as they get in towards Phases 3 and 4. But I think for the most part, I would be surprised if we don't have every team in this sort of circle. I think you're going to see the likes of Cerberus just shift a little bit. Bay are fine. You can already see how that western sort of portion of this circle has already cleared up. So Day Trade making their way in. South side, just north above that little mini Novo section of the docks, says Haisaki, says hello to Umama. Well, Sulabi is going to get the refrag immediately, and that's really detrimental for Cerberus. That's their best player. That's their star man, eliminated inside of 10 minutes here for match 3. We were just singing his praises in the pre-show.
Well, I mean, I got to say for Cerberus, their run so far in PCS3 is very much mirroring their results in PCS Charity Showdown into PCS2, PCS3. They had a rough start, a decent game, and then another sort of rougher start here. And that's sort of what we saw from them just in terms of their results overall in these seasons. They've had 2 sort of awkward seasons and 1 pretty good one. So they do seem to be, to me, a fairly inconsistent team. I will say that much. And it's kind of like go big or go home for Cerberus. And hopefully for them, this isn't going to be a case of go home. FTF, though, might be going home. They've run into LG Divine. They've actually managed to pick themselves a couple of kills up there, but they have also lost a couple of players as well. It's just 1 remaining player, Gypsy Danger, driving straight through the middle of the military base. And where can you possibly pull up that's going to be safe at this point? Very, very late in the game. Looks like he has managed to at least find somewhere for now.
I mean, at this point, the teams that are injured and wounded are going to just send it further inward to the military base, and that's just going to at least buy them some time. LG Divine down to just 2. It's John and Levi's. MC and Nikki both eliminated, so I don't sense they're going to have 3 chicken dinners in a row. And it does spell good news, I guess, basically for everyone else in the lobby, for the other 15 teams, that LG Divine aren't necessarily going to run away with it after 3 matches. They're not going to have some extraordinary lead. They can still get a few more points, considering their position and then the circle and obviously how it all shifts here on out for match number 3, but they're not going to have another big 15-point game like they've had for matches 1 and matches 2. Ferox are going to get a boat. Very fortunate that they've got this boat. I'm actually a bit surprised that there was still 1 left over.
Yeah. Blue right at their back. So, as you say, quite lucky. Swinging it around. Drift King. Who's in the driver's seat there? Didn't quite catch
Very
it.
sweet soul. Surely. I can just imagine him driving that with that beard.
Yeah. The beard's holding onto the steering wheel.
It is Sweet Souls, right?
Yeah. All right. Well, they managed to make it across there, Ferox. So that's a start. But still quite a long run for them. And a fairly long run for Hydra Gaming, who incidentally are actually driving across the bridge.
Look at this circle again, Jordan, though. This is going to be another circle where it's going to shift the people inside the circle. Not so much the injured teams. I don't think you'll see like LG Divine try and make too much movement. Angel Alliance are down to 3, but even they can start to shift. Division X Gaming have kind of been gifted away potentially to get to a decent spot if they make the early push. The likes of Day Trade, Sharper Esports, what did they do? Because all of a sudden, they are the meat in what's going to eventually be a sandwich. And if they hold around those down planes or at the bunker, it might not bode well, even if it does get them to the late game. I don't think they'll find kills. Hydra Gaming already rotating out to the very far west. They're going to then go down south in between Angel Alliance and Division X Gaming. And then the same will probably happen out here to the east. Purple Mood, Fury, and Miramar will do the same, but from the opposite direction. So the teams in military base, the ones that are injured, will stay put. There's so much real estate down to the very south portion of the circle, but the problem is if you do go down there, it's very, very open as God Meow's going to take out Boss Sense. Nordra's there to also capitalize, and Buram are on the board.
Yeah, that is not where you want to nosedive straight into the ground in your Dacia. Unfortunate for him. Fortunate, though, for Buram, who have that point on the board and have also now spotted out Ronan, at least from Fury. They might have had an idea that Fury was hanging around a little earlier on in the piece as well. They were fairly close by for a little while there. Purple Mood, well, they get in with 3 alive, so could be worse. We turn our attention back over to Angel Alliance, one of the positive surprises from this evening so far. Didn't really know what to expect from them, a newer looking roster coming from the Philippines. And they've done pretty well so far.
Oh, they've done amazing, Jordan. They've done amazing. The question is, of course, coming in now to Erangel, can they keep it up? Right now, it's a bit of a shaky start here on Erangel. Plenty of time to turn things around. Still got 3 players up. Victim Rise, though, they can't turn around. They're in the blue. I don't think Ferox are going to do much better either. Sweet Soul's down. Rain's going to follow. Monty's dead before he even realized. And they're down to just Bryn. And unfortunately for Ferox, so far, their run here on PCS3 APAC has been quite dismal. These first 3 games, they've got a lot to work on. They'll be able to watch the VODs, of course, after tonight, but improvements need to be made starting tomorrow night. And I guess the next game, too.
And the next game. Yep, that's true. Well, let's see where the circle shifts, because that'll tell us a lot. If it goes over the military base, we might see a very similar end to what we got there on Miramar in Game 2. Code is on the screen for those of you who are interested in that, and it's a bit of a 50-50.
Yeah.
Oh, that's sharp.
It's not really a 50-50, is it, though? Because really the north side's where you got all the cover. The south side's just open field. You know, I was going on a bit of a tangent before, mainly because there was 3 different sets of compounds. So if it did go south, a little bit more south, obviously the water, though, makes that pretty much impossible. So only Division X and Buram kind of went to those positions because they had no other option. Now it's going to be intriguing to see what they do from here. Hydra Gaming, their position, I mean, if they hold that spot, they might be all right for a long while, except for having to deal with, of course, Division X Gaming. Insight going to get revived here by Ronan. It's a big game for Fury here. They need all players up. They're outside of the circle. They've got a lot of work to do, and they don't really have much time either.
That's true. Driving right in the direction of the remaining Purple Mood players is Waikika Mukau. Making that early rotation in is going to pull up on top of them. This is a situation we see fairly often when it comes to military base finishes. 1 team in the bunker, 1 team on top of the bunker. Plenty of real estate for everyone. Everyone's happy. Unless, of course, your upstairs neighbor is walking around with high heels on, similar to mine, on a fairly regular basis. But that's okay. We'll leave that one by the wayside. Magic have made it into the military base, playing around the silos. I've never been a huge fan of this position. It always just feels like there's so many angles you can get shot from, and nowhere is really safe.
It's a temporary position that you can kind of just do your little circle around and move and try and find some information, keep going, keep getting on the move, and then make your way over to the ATC, I guess. The intriguing thing right now, from what I can see on my map screen, is the 2-2 split that Sharper Esports have got. They're occupying 2 of the bunkers here in the military Now, that is extremely aggressive based on this current circle. You would anticipate that at some point, I don't know who, I don't know when, a team is going to want to crash into one of those bunkers. Now, of course, whichever one does get crashed, they are going to get some assistance from the other bunker, but it's still, they're so far away. They're going to have to hit some tough shots. I'm a little surprised that they don't have all 4 together, but I would be even more surprised if they don't group up Phase 5. So they might hold it for now, then Phase 5 group up potentially, or they just, I guess, maybe can't group up. I would imagine they should have vehicles inside of the bunkers. If you look at Miramar United, they're not inside of the circle yet. Really, I think the only thing they can play off is the terrain and potentially the fence line that obviously encapsulates military base.
On the topic of Sharp, I think it's a pretty hard call to make, right? Because there is a very real possibility that if you send all 4 players into the same bunker, you just get camped and you can't get out if you do have to move. So I think it's almost too much of a risk even to have all 4 in the same, unless it's very, very late game where you probably know you don't have to move. But in this kind of a situation, you're still not sure exactly where the circle's going to shift. I think this is the correct decision from Sharp at the moment. Having a look at Bay, team that you sort of mentioned earlier, keeping an eye on teams rotating in, if there were any. Not too many, though. They are the last sort of team coming in from the northern side of the map. Here comes the next circle shift, though, and this is the one
south
that will tell us where it's going to get interesting. If it goes south, that's going to be a really disgusting circle for the most of these teams.
I think either way it's going to be disgusting, and it is. Yeah. I was going to say, if it had gone north, right, you're going to almost have a similar finish to what we had for match number 2 with Montenuevo. You're going to have these buildings, you're going to have a lot of smoke, you're going to have a lot of teams crashing, sending into buildings. This does really get the best of both worlds, right? You've still got that fence line. There's still a little bit of space inside a military base. Not much, but it is going to cause, of course, teams to all want to send it. There goes the push into the bunker. Nephahor literally just throws his life away by going so far deep in. Jukesy gets out too early. He ends up going down because he got out too early from the Dacia. And it's only Loki's and Sophia that remain for Battle Arena Elites. Fury involved as well. I think on top, potentially.
Yep.
Or behind
they're,
it.
They're
yeah,
on top
technically
and
on top.
Yeah. They tried to go early, which, you know, isn't always necessarily a bad strategy. But the fact that Buriram is still up on that hill above them means that there are some pretty disgusting angles that can fire down on top of Fury. It's not just Fury that's copping the bullet, though. Angel Alliance have run into Division X Gaming, and that hasn't gone too well for them. Lots of teams going to run into a very, very similar kind of position here because they all have to come out of the military base. There's like 2 or 3 teams that can gatekeep them, but everyone else has to move. There should be a feeding frenzy for the likes of Buriram.
Feeding frenzy for basically anyone that's not getting breached right now. Magic Esports and LG Divine over the ATC doing battle. As we can see, Fury just healing up there. Levi's on top here. Oh, he just spotted one at the last second. Didn't want to re-peek it, though, in fear that he had been found out as well. He hadn't, and he did get Valix. There goes Flood, and that's another bad game for Fury coming up in the books. And there has been some kills found for LG Divine. I think 3, in fact. They started on 31. They did have actually 1 kill before they lost their 2 players. So doing all right so far, the little duo there in the military base, but they do have to get moving. 50 seconds until phase number 6. Basil, Subang, both knocked, and they're both going to be finished off. Daytrade doing very well to hold on here. Noran's just maneuvering around, along with Flash still alive. Loki's and Sophia for Battle Arena Elites looking to just get to this fence line. Loki's is, and to try and avoid the fire from Buriram, who are loving this circle right now. They've got that high ground looking right into the military base, and Sharper are on the move, who have still got all 4 players alive.
It's the beauty of the 2-2 split. They've made it work, and now that they're later into the game, they can rotate, consolidate their position in that bunker. It might still not work out too kindly for them. It's highly likely that they won't be inside of the next circle shift, but to get to this stage of the game, they're one of the only teams that has all 4 players alive, and they're definitely the only team to get out of the military base with all 4 alive.
Fury.
So
Look at Fury.
that gives them something, and Fury also gets something with the circle shift coming through there. So it's not the end of the world just yet for Fury. It's not going to be a big game from them, but they might still get some points on the board.
Oh, Solozzi, who's been very good for Cerberus, just gets a nice little cheeky knock onto Flash, but that's all it'll be. Down to the final 8 teams, so placement points on offer here for match 3 of day number 1. We saw that again, Southern shift and away from even more cover. And teams like Sharp Esports, all 4 of them are going to have to come out of that bunker now. Sophia has to hold that fence line for just a little bit longer and then has to get moving across that very open road. Buriram are probably going to be the recipients, you would think, of these teams coming out of the military base. They got that higher ground. They can obviously get those vantage points, and I think even quite safely as well. I don't think Division X Gaming can really see too much of them, or even Hydra Gaming for that matter. Look at this little 1-1 split on either side of the road here for Waika Gamukau and Ronan of Fury. They're going to have their hands full very, very soon. Not just yet. There's still 1 minute and 40 seconds, and they're right on the edge of that circle. So there's another minute or so of sitting and waiting for those two. But there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 players north of them. Noran's on the move early on, and Cal will happily take that kill, looking to get some redeemed points here in match number 3. Some delayed points that they couldn't quite acquire over on Miramar. Day Trade Gaming will be eliminated in 8th position, but Sharper make it over.
Oh, this grenade could be huge from Nordra. Has it gone deep enough? It looks good. Lands on top of all of them, but just some splash damage, not a knock. Man, if that would have been a 3-man grenade kill, it would have been insane, but not the case. Still, Buriram, as you can tell, very aware of the position of this team. Sophia is as well. He's going to nab himself a free. That's pretty good considering the situation he's in. He'll go out in 6th place Battle Arena Elite, but to be honest, not a terrible start to their campaign on Erangel. It's turned around a little bit for Bay. Certainly seems to have turned around a little bit for Fury as well on this map. But Buriram continuing to put in good work. Sharper also continuing to put in good work. So those are the 2 power players in this game. They're both of the teams that have 4 or 3 players alive. And they're looking to extend the lead that they have over the majority. Here's another grenade getting thrown in by Nordra. I think that was just a flash this time. Still got 1 grenade, but
they know exactly where they're at. But I think that first nade didn't give them enough information, and since then has been a little bit more hesitant in continuing to throw even more, especially when you're low on utility. Fury are going to win.
Fury's going to win, you reckon?
Yep. Look at that circle shift. That is disgusting. They do not have to move from these little guard posts.
No one is beating Buriram right now. They are on 9 kills. They've got 4 players alive. They've already got the knock onto Hydra Gaming. That's Mickey down on the floor. I think it's just 1 player left for Hydra Gaming. Division X only have a couple. Fury have come out of their compound. I mean, this is where it actually does fall apart for Buriram. If all of these other remaining teams turn their attention up the hill and watch Buriram as they rotate down, it can fall apart. But if they're given the opportunity to take 4-on-2s, 4-on-1s, they'll just trade out and get down the hill okay.
Well, this could be the entry point though for Waika Gamukau to just get an easy kill, because Nordra spinning, or sliding, I guess, more than anything, was going very, very slow there towards the end. 5 kills for Waika Gamukau, who was just woken up and has found some energy. 9 kills for Buriram. It's been a great game, but you probably would have suspected they would be able to go on and, I guess, get the chicken dinner from the position that they had. But now, down to 3 players. One of them I can't even see. Canaxi actually went fishing and got a crate, and is now making his way back. Very risky, but will be successful in that retrieval of the crate and the goodies that were there. IQ 500 and Neil still alive for Division X Gaming. One of the better games that we've seen from them as well. They had it a little bit rough at times on Miramar, a bit inconsistent. And Hydra Gaming doing well too, center of the circle. But right now, it's a 2 versus 2 versus 2 versus 3. It's anyone's game from here if they play it perfectly.
I don't mind the position that Fury is in at the moment. Like you said, I mean, you kind of call them to win. I don't know if I'll go so far. It's still anyone's game at this point, but they are a team that has more hard cover than the rest. Canaxi perhaps has a rude awakening here for him. IQ 500. Would like to maybe creep up on him or just chuck a grenade in that direction. Doesn't cook it for too long, so Canaxi would have had time to move if he needed it. Didn't go quite deep enough.
Oh, man. That nade might be the one, actually. Nope. Just falls short as well. I think he actually looked a bit closer than he actually was, to be honest. That Molotov's not going to do too much. And actually, no more nades. They still have 5 smoke grenades remaining. I think if Buriram can deal with Division X cleanly here, I think they potentially take back the favorite. So that nade is just skipped. What? The bounce, I don't know what just happened there with that nade. There's a 1-for-1 trade between Hydra Gaming and Fury. Cow is knocked. Ronan has 4 nades, make it 3 now after letting that one rip. Mickey just sitting at this Dacia. Obviously, the retrieval and the survival of Wacky Kamukau is imperative. If they are going to win this game, Ronan needs to get this revive onto Cal. And it looks as if that's now going to be his #1 aim, and that's his #1 goal. And he might just be successful here because there's no one really pushing onto their location.
Yeah, in fact, actually, Buriram have rotated down to the south. All 3 of the players I can see there on the minimap. And so they'll be getting into an engagement with Division X Gaming and Hydra Gaming far more likely than they are to get into a fight with Fury, who right now have been largely ignored up toward the northern side of the map. If they just stay chill here, don't get involved in the fight, perhaps the other teams will finish each other off, and Ronan and Waikakamukau can sneak in with a victory for themselves. We've seen Fury struggle to get wins on the board in PCS2.
Yeah.
And here's another opportunity for them, so let's see if they can convert. Again, I'd probably still put my lot in with Buriram at this point, given they have the numbers advantage, but they are in a pretty difficult crossfire. I guess it remains to be seen where this next circle is going to go, because everyone is quite keen on just chilling, sitting where they are, not moving, not doing anything.
Well, it's phase 9. It's probably just going to go a little center. I don't think it's going to do any... Yeah, there's nothing else it's going to do, so...
Right.
I think that phase 8 went really quick. I think we were both ready for like the phase 8 shift, and we were actually like, oh, hang on, it's actually phase 9.
Yep.
And the dramatic music makes its entrance.
You love it. You love to hear it.
You love to hear it, but I'm not sure much is really going to happen here for about maybe another minute or so.
Well, I hear this is actually the Xenox personal playlist music that we've got. So thank you very much to Caster Xenox for providing
really
the music today.
Kanaxi does spot IQ 500 in the grass. He landed that initial headshot and was successful with a follow-up spray. And now the push comes from Fury as well from the other side. And in the end, Division X Gaming do get pinched. 3 versus 1 versus 2. Fury with the 2, Hydra Gaming's Mickey still alive. But as you keep sort of pointing out, Jordan, it's Buriram who have the numbers. And now they have the 3 versus 2. Can Fury find their first win since probably PCS1? I don't think so now, because Edie gets the knock onto Waikakamukau. Be like Ronan. And maybe find a 1 versus 3. But look at the position. You can see he's got no cover at all. Does spray into the smoke. Almost gets it now. Does get it, but he can't get the second one. The refrag comes out. Buriram United Esports are on the board with a chicken dinner for PCS3 APAC as they are looking quite strong and now take top spot.
That is pretty good from Buriram. If I remember correctly, it was actually Ronan that won a 1v1 against Nordra in PCS1 to give Buriram a second place finish in round number 13. So there's a little bit of revenge from Buriram. They win the 3v2 this time against Waikakamukau and Ronan. I will say, I don't see Buriram being the kind of team to throw away a 2v3. Once they do get rid of that remaining Hydra Gaming player, that's sort of the X factor out of the picture there, and it sort of almost seemed that they were going to run away with that game. Fury did pretty well for themselves, though. You got to say, getting a second place. Yeah, again, the meme continues. It's not a win for them, but a second place from the position that they were in. I think they got like 9 kills or 10 kills or something like that out of that game as well. Definitely not a disappointing performance from them there at all, and they'll be happy to see the day turning around a little bit. So great stuff from Buriram. It's going to rocket them up the standings. I think they might even be in first place after that. But you can say the same thing for Fury. You can say the same thing. Hydra Gaming did pretty well, took a 3rd place. Not too many kills on the board, but enough to keep the scoreboard ticking over, which is something that I like to bring up all the time, and they've been a consistent force so far in PCS3. So for those top 3 teams out of game number 3, very, very good stuff. Few teams missing out, few teams getting some points on the board where they otherwise hadn't on Miramar, and you can start to see this PCS3 APAC really developing some nice storylines.
Similar storylines, though, that we've seen throughout the year, which is usually the, sort of like Thailand versus Vietnam. There's always 1 and 2 is Thailand and Vietnam, switching around, I guess. In this case, obviously, Buriram take top spot for the time being. And will they be able to potentially go all the way this time? Something that LG Divine were able to do in PCS2. A long way to go. We've only played 3 games, and I guess that also shows why you don't want to get ahead of yourselves too much. But what I will say, Jordan, and you said new storylines. I said similar storylines, because something we saw a lot of in PCS2 was when LG Divine weren't having the best of games, they still found a way to get points. They still found a way to actually get something out of it. In this case, 6 points gained from what was a very horrible start to then obviously a bit of fortune in terms of going to ATC and inside a military base. They had the circle for a while, but that like a quote unquote poor game from LG Divine still got them 7th in terms of points, 6 points from that match. But obviously Miramar 24 in total, the most that a team has gotten so far for PCS3 APAC. Fury with 14. That was certainly a big performance from them.
It's testament to the consistency that we've seen from Miramar so far today, isn't it? Given that Divine has won 2 out of 3 of the games and they're still not first place. That's just insane, the amount of numbers that Miramar has been able to put up in the fragging department. It's 25 kill points for Miramar and only 17 for Divine. So you can just see that kind of a difference when we bring up the total leaderboard here. It's 3 points total difference. Divine getting a lot of placement points on the board. But the kill points, I mean, Miramar have fragged out, and that is something that we've always associated with them. They're always a team that won't shy away from a fight, and they're very good in those fights as well. So if they keep up that kind of performance, then they are going to be a team to beat, which is not a surprise. I feel like they're probably the team that most deserves a victory that hasn't got it yet in PCS3. You could make the argument that Fury does as well, because they were, like we said, equal first, having lost based on the kill differential last season. But Miramar, who have placed 3rd, 2nd, and then 3rd in all of the PCSs that we've had, including Charity Showdown so far, are definitely in with an argument in that respect as well.
They definitely are. They're definitely... I don't think anyone would be complaining if Miramar take out PCS3 APAC. Long way to go. Of course, still another 21 games in total, but they've been such a stalwart throughout 2020. It is nice to see them in the top spot, but it's only the top spot after 3 games. They've got to do it for quite a bit longer throughout the month of November. We're going to go to a break. When we come back, it's going to be our final game of the night. One game remaining here tonight for PCS3 APAC in what has been a very, very fun start to the season, Jordan. We've had it all. We've had LG Divine, of course, winning back-to-back on Miramar, and then we've got Miramar United, probably their biggest competitor throughout 2020 as a whole, picking up the win and now taking top spot. One game to go tonight, and I just wonder if we've got ourselves a bit of a king on Miramar and a king on Erangel situation.
Well, I guess we will have to wait and see. If there was a queen on Miramar, it would have been Buriram, and so far, I don't know that Divine are living up to that statement on Erangel themselves. They didn't have an amazing game. It was okay. Anyway, top 5 damage charts so far. I have to imagine this was from last game. It was day 1, match 3, and it's all Buriram and Fury, which is not a huge surprise at all. No, Nordra, he got knocked out early on in the piece, but he was the top damage dealer a couple of seasons ago in PCS3, PCS2, I should say, I think. Maybe even PCS1. Time sort of all blends together.
It's been a long year.
Yeah, but he's definitely a player to watch is basically my point that I'm trying to make there. He's definitely someone that if he wasn't taken out early in that game, could have really put the numbers on the board and is likely to continue to do that. Buriram storming through game 1 on Erangel and heading into match 4 of this evening, the second on this map. They are going to be trying to do that once again to hold on to the slight lead that they have heading into this final game of the evening.
It's not too much of an emphasis to hold top spot, but I would say it would be kind of nice, I guess, to end the night in top spot and probably end tomorrow night in top spot. Have that week where you're number 1 is always a good feeling. You don't have to feel like you've got to catch up or you've got to climb. I would say, though, regardless of what happens from here, you know, Miramar United, LG Divine, those two, above all, are going to be very happy with themselves after day number 1, regardless of what happens even in this match. It's more so up to the likes of Victim Rise, Cerberus, Sharper Esports, and so forth. They need to have a really big game here for the final match of the day. Now, another hot drop over in Pachinki between Ferox and Magic Esports. Nothing came of it last time out, Jordan. I don't think much will come from it this time either. And we get a normal circle.
We do, but the beauty of such a circle is there's still an element of doubt as to whether this ends up north of the river or south of the river. The bettors would probably say it goes down to the south. There's a little bit more toward the southern side, but hard shift toward the north out of the first phase, and things could definitely change up. It's a better one for Fury, though. They won't have to rotate all the way down to Sosnovka Island, although that didn't seem to be too much of a problem for them last time. Based on the drop locations that we're seeing here, I mean, with the exception being Pachinki, we're probably not going to be seeing too much early action. There isn't really anyone in close proximity aside from Ferox and Magic. And
Pachinki, you might actually run into them. I think they'll be pretty safe. I think they'll be fine over there. I think Fury, though, the ones to keep an eye on this game. And Yaznaya, Ronan's already sort of pushed to the north of Rozhok, across the river, close actually to John. So LG Divine and Fury both with a similar mindset in terms of where they want to position themselves. But I don't think it's going north. I mean, if we go off the statistics, there's a larger portion of the circle south of the river. Now, this is one of my favorite circles, by the way, Jordan. I love when we get these Rozhok River circles because it's like this 50-50, north, south. Which one do you go? And really, all you can do is just play the statistics. Sometimes the south side's a bit bigger, sometimes the north side's a bit bigger, and you really just have to go to the one that's a bit bigger and try your luck. I mean, you're just backing luck more than anything in. Get the best position, obviously, but nonetheless, I don't know if this is the sort of circle where you go north on phase 1. I think you want to probably just hold around that Yazzie Bridge, and that's what Fury are able to do in this particular match, is use that Yaznaya Bridge as a way to go either north or south of the river. And we do see over in Pachinki some shots being fired. I don't know if we're going to have this full hard engagement, but Rain, that is so unfortunate. Donkey from the other side has just put a massive dent into Ferox's chances of really getting anything in this game now, down to 3. And if Magic Esports want to be bold and brave, they could look to capitalize even more here. I don't think they will, but they could.
Has he gotten all the way around there? That's a huge flank unspotted and just comes up straight behind Rain. That's the end of him. Ferox not feeling too happy about that, I'm sure. Doesn't look like Tonkay and the rest of the Magic boys are looking to continue to push the issue. Well, maybe Tonkay is. The rest of Magic just holding quite stoically where they are, but he's on the move again. This is very interesting. He's going to continue rotating around Ferox. And, I mean, at this point, do you really expect him to be up at church?
But he has to move regardless from that position he was at, because if he doesn't move, then Ferox have got a bit of an idea of where he's at. Now they got no idea.
But the assumption would be he's just going to fall back into the town, back to the safety of his teammates, not continue to push aggressively and get up to church, which is where he is now.
Oh, he spotted Monty, but I think Monty's actually spotted Tonkay back, so Monty's not going to probably fall for this one. Switzol's in the same building there, also watching, so it seems as if they know where Tonkay is. The rest of Magic Esports are a bit further away from Ferox.
Oh, yeah, they definitely know that he's there. Monty's watching the rock like that. Now the shot's coming through. Tonkay copping a few bullets. He's got a bit over-eager, peeking a bit further behind the rock and exposed himself. Punished for it a little. Not taken down, though, and he's still able to provide that crossfire angle. So it's not a fun spot to be in for Ferox. They're going to be spotted moving out of their buildings regardless of where they go. Either way, seems the action has died down in Pachinki for the moment, and we'll keep an eye on Bay rotating up off Sosnovka Island. Amuma. Couple of shots fired in the direction of Ferox, couple of shots received, but it is
that's
what it
sweet
is.
soul picture, Jordan. I can't.
You love it.
I can't. What's with the hair?
He's a cutie.
Like,
I'd give him a big kiss on the forehead.
it's got like the combed over hair. I don't know why he's still peeking this. They've got to find a way out. They've got to just find a way out. They're just using up too many supplies now. His helmet's almost depleted. I mean, Monty doesn't even really have any meds besides 10 bandages. You've already lost a player, so you're not going to get much from this game. I think at this point, they're just surrounded, and they probably feel like they're surrounded. And making that mad dash out the back door is no longer a viable strategy. And it's, I think, the best strategy right now, considering, obviously, this position is inside of the Phase 1 circle, is to just see how aggressive does Magic Esports get here? Do they push into our building? And then if they do, then that actually gives us a chance to win the fight. So that's potentially what Ferox might be thinking here. I don't actually know, but it's my assumption, it's my guess. As while they are getting pretty greedy here, Magic Esports, and they are pushing really close now.
Sweet Soul's been spotted going down the stairs by Muma. He'll have an understanding, I think, that Monty is still there. It could be a potential problem for everyone in Pachinki as well. Buriram lurking nearby. It's unlikely that they'll crash into Pachinki, but if they sense blood in the water, maybe they'll give it a crack. Day trade also on the way in, very close to Pachinki. So all the teams that have come from the southern part of the map have more or less made it into the circle, exception being Jukesy for obvious reasons. He was driving on 2 wheels, which was less than ideal, but he's got it going and he'll be arriving inside the safety of the circle fairly shortly, rejoining Bay, who are set up just to the west of the shelters. And the standoff continues in Pachinki. Sweet Soul can't afford to make a mistake of walking up the stairs here, though. If he does, I'm watching that angle, takes his head off.
Well, this is a little bit of a engagement over on Potato Hill, or a potential one that might transpire pretty quickly. Norrens is getting flanked by Subang Cerberus and does catch him pretty quickly. Norrens had no idea that flank was happening. Was watching more so to the top of Potato Hill, knowing that Cerberus were up there. Flash is gone in a flash. Not going to be sticking around for too much longer. Wants to send it back over to Veronica. Poochill's even further to the south. And not the start day trade we're looking for in this final game of the night, as we are 5 seconds away from Phase 2, and Tonkay's on Ferox's roof.
They are not giving up, are they? That's probably a little too far. Oh, well, actually not a bad shout from Monty.
Oh, Felix. Oh man, this is really aggressive though from Magic Esports. This is really aggressive. And now that we've got this phase 2 circle, which that's a spicy one over at the Roshawk River. This little engagement in Pachinki needs to come to an end, one way or another. Magic Esports, if you really want those kills, you're going to have to push in and get them. That's what Ferox are basically saying. Come here and come get us. Otherwise, they need to give up. They need to start heading out because they need to get a good position for this next circle. Now, this is where you probably want to be on the north side of the circle. Apparently, Waikika Mukau has died. They just went from the Yazzie Bridge, made their way over, but Hydra Gaming is there. There goes Sweet Solomonte, and you guess it, it's Tongkay, who's got a 3K again.
Well, can he get a 4K here because he's leading the charge straight in onto Bryn? Doesn't quite finish him off, but 6 HP. Bryn will not be lasting too much longer. Pops a grenade down at his feet. Can't be pushed as a result for the moment, but sooner or later, he is going to be dropping, and that is that. The 4K from Tongkay.
Boom!
Single-handedly brought Ferox to their knees. Now Fury doing the same to the LG Divine. Nikki, the first one, copying the shots across the bridge inside, and Ronan combining. That's a great shot from inside onto Levi's as well. We talked about it. Maybe there was a king and a queen when it came to Miramar and Erangel, and Divine had to uphold their end of the bargain to take second best on Erangel, but it's not looking like that's going to be the case. Losing 2 players off the bat, that is an unceremonious loss as well.
I don't even know if it's second best on Erangel. Either Elgin bots with the seat swap. Just got it at the last second onto 2 ends. Evan Patrick will finish off the work. And this is what I want to see from Angel Alliance. They had a bit of a quieter game in match 3 in the first affair on Erangel. 4 up, nice early kill, good position. Can they show us what they were able to show us over on Miramar, now over here on Erangel? Bunch of teams around them. Off to a decent start as best 1301 is going to go down to Neil of Division X Gaming. And in a minute time, Jordan, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 6 or 7 teams on the south portion of this Roshawk River. If they don't get the shift for phase 3, they're all going to be in a lot of trouble because there's not much real estate available up north. It's already taken by Hydra, Purple, Fury, Division X, Angel Alliance, and obviously it's vice versa, right? If those teams have to come down south, they could be in some trouble, but I would dare say it's probably easier for them, the teams up north, to make their way south and crash into the likes of Roshawk School and Apartments than, say, the other option. So going north, definitely safer.
Well, Xenox, let's see if Long K can finish off what Tongkay started, because Tongkay, he got a 4K. Can Long K get a 2K? How many Ks can I say in one sentence? Probably more than that. But either way, they are going to be headed right in the direction of Unicorn Cyber. It's Division X Gaming with 4 players alive. Unicorn Cyber only a couple. Not a good place for them to be stuck. And look at all the grenades just being thrown straight on in.
Here we go, phase 3. Well, it basically tells us where we're going to finish. We're going to finish this game at Hydra Gaming. Because of the Yasnaya Pond that's still in, that's going to count as water, because it's water.
Really? You could have fooled me.
I could have. Almost. Didn't try, though. I would never. That blue just defending for his life on this staircase. But, yeah, 100%. I mean, phase 5, we know exactly where that's going to go. And that is obviously where all these players and teams are going to know as well, where it's going to start to head to the later portions of this match. And they can play off of that. That blue almost got one. Fergus, though, with a quick turnaround, saving the day. I think actually saving himself. Klee just having a moment there inside of the smoke. Neil going to go deal with Klee now. I think that will be the end of Unicorn, who will end day number 1 with just 1 solitary point. I'm not sure if they're going to be gaining too many more votes on the Pick'em challenges after their performance today.
Well, where do we go from here? Because Magic, the team that sort of stuck themselves in Pachinki trying to deal with Ferox, are perhaps getting a sense of why they shouldn't have done that, because they are now one of the few teams that has yet to rotate into the circle. Battle Arena Elites have been largely unscathed. They've really just rotated all the way up from the military island. Keeping an eye on Angel Alliance, another one of those teams that's piqued our interest so far today.
Oh, yeah.
They're doing pretty well. And they're also looking reasonably comfortable.
Look at the drop-off, though. I know you said, yeah, like, look at the drop-off, though, Jordan, from 11th to 16th. You go from 19 to 7.
Yeah.
7, 5, 4, 2, 1. Angel Alliance are on 19 points, but they're only 6 points away from 3rd. It's a massive amount of points in the middle section of this leaderboard right now, as Los Santos is going to be eliminated by Hexagona from the future. Both of these two teams have been starved of points throughout day number 1. They might just feed on each other here. Are you all right, Jordan? I heard some sirens going off.
Yeah, the coppers are coming to get me. Untainted. He wants his casting spot back, but he's not able to get inside the house, luckily. There's a buzzer system. He doesn't have the buzzer.
Right.
He can't get up the elevator. Well, we've reached the eye of the storm. This is what I like to call it, Xenox, where,
all right, yeah,
you know, we've had a bit of action. Things have slowed down now as everyone's found a position inside of the circle, and really, we're just waiting for the next circle to pop.
Everyone's waiting for this circle to pop. As I said, we knew where it was going to go. It was a very suspenseful circle for a circle we knew 100% without a doubt where that was going to go. It definitely did its job in eliminating the water. And in terms of the recipients, I mean, obviously I said it before, Hydra Gaming, great spot. They're happy. Victim Rise in a good position. Angel Alliance, all 4 up, and they have just found an AWM for Algin Bots if he wants to take it. Not everyone does.
No, he doesn't want it.
In the DMR meta.
Yeah. Well, that's a hefty northern shift, exactly as you say, Xenox. It was going to go straight over Hydra Gaming. We're not too surprised to see that one, courtesy of the water in the pond. That is, in fact, water, and definitely not anything but water.
Yep.
Big spray from Poochills. Not going to land the finishing blow onto Seymour. But Chibirit is going to do it for him by driving straight into him. And that's going to open the door for Nan to get himself the freest point of his life for Angel Alliance. Well, they say you got to take the opportunity when it presents itself, and they've done just that. So I guess you'll be happy. And if you're someone that's after a code today, you'll be happy as well because it's on your screen right now. Go ahead and whack that in.
So what's the play for these teams that are not, I guess you could say, in the circle, right? Because really the circle that encapsulates the entire north side is Canaxi, just sends it past Kim Siva. And, well, I guess these are the teams that aren't inside of the circle, and this is really what's happening, I guess. So it's basically just chaos incarnate. I don't think Buriram's going to gain much from this match. They've been very unfortunate with the way the circle has shifted away from them. Lokis is about to go right into Algae Divine. Does stop short, though, here at this little defilade. M249 in hand. But a distance away, doesn't connect onto the MC at the back of the petrol station. But the reinforcements are now arriving for Battle Arena Elites. Now for Horde, Jukesy. They now come to the fray here. Jun and MC in a 2 versus 4. Algae Divine are about to end this game, I think, with 0 points, unless the MC can find a kill here.
Looking pretty unlikely, if I'm honest, Xenox, but the blue at the back of Bay does force them to move.
Wow, Buriram, no points either.
Yeah, it really gives the opportunity for quite a few teams to close the distance. Here goes Bay, though. They're going to try and make it across the bridge. I'm not sure how this works out too kindly for them. Fury will be watching, and Loki starts to cop some shots. Inside on the roof, I think he's got the backup of a teammate there as well, and they're headed almost directly toward Ronan, who should have shots here on Loki's, but doesn't seem to. Either way, Sophia deals with an AMC accordingly. Bay have largely gotten across the bridge unscathed, and I'd say they're going to be happy with how that's actually panned out. I think that could have gone much worse for them.
So that's 1 and 2 on the leaderboard, both with nothing here for the final game of the day. And I am so happy about that because it just means we're not going to have a 2-horse race. That means everyone in that sort of, what is it, the peloton, is going to be able to catch up and really close that gap, which was already forming, 12, 15 points or so. And apparently goodbye to Sharper Esport. So long. Not sure exactly what happened, but apparently Cerberus essentially doing most of the work there. I would imagine they were trying to make their way over the mini Rosloff bridge, and Cerberus basically just cleaned up, and then what happened to what they did then happened to them. It's karma, basically.
And Bay are lurking as well. They've heard these shots. They're looking for a couple of cheeky points here or there. Molotov's going to get chucked in. Won't land on top of Amuma. But Neferhor has spotted out one or two of the Magic players. Can't quite land the finishing blows. He would have. They were out in the open. It would have been a free kill for Bay. But they're going to have to duck their heads back down because Fury behind them will have shots flood up on that roof in the fragging position. Try and put that to good use. Already shots going through from him. On the other side of the map up towards the north, it's Division X that are trying to breach Purple Mood, and it's kind of working, kind of not working. It's all over the place, and so are we. Back over to Angel Alliance, who are now breaching Victim Rise, one of those teams that was trying to close the gap with the top, but for Buriram and for LG Divine, the two teams that are at the top, getting nothing out of this game, they'll be happy to see Victim Rise really not getting a whole lot here either.
Look at the patience though from Angel Alliance playing this so well. GenForce is basically forced to run in, but they are not going to just send it in there. Now Evil Patrick wants to go to the back side of the building. Did catch a bit of that Molotov. The jump up spray probably not going to work, and certainly didn't. Mad Dog going to be knocked. Patrick too. It was already quite low. Surely Angel Alliance aren't just going to balls this one up. No, they're not. Nan comes up big, as Nan usually does. 5 kills for Angel Alliance. They take out one of their direct competitors and they jump up into the top 6. We're not done yet, though. This has been a bloodbath of a final game for PCS3 APAC. 21 minutes, but there's only 23 alive, 7 teams. Loki's the last one alive for Battle Arena Elites, and he's almost just ran himself over. Practically did. Rabbit will eliminate him from Hydra Gaming. Bay are out in 7th, 6 teams left. We head over to Day Trade versus Magic Esports. No kills yet for Day Trade. 3 up against the 3 or 4. It's actually the 4. Miramar just revived. Venonika's knocked by Tong K, who has been on a tear these last few games.
Yeah, Tong K is going absolutely nuts at the moment. There's a Molotov chucked right in from him. Would have loved to have seen where that landed because it looks almost good. The second one is very good. On top of Venonika, Flash is going to probably drop here as well. And he will. Tong K, it's a double kill for him. He's going to add another couple of points to the tally for Magic, and starting to see Magic really flex their muscles. They've been quiet so far today.
I don't think Alliance can actually third party this. Tong K ends up just wiping Day Trade single-handedly. He has 8 of the 10 kills for Magic Esports, and they're up into the top 3 from, I thought they were like bottom 5, bottom 6. I don't know anymore, Jordan. This game has had it all. This night has had it all. They've got 4 lives, but the position's not good. And it also doesn't bode well either for Angel Alliance. How do you get down from here is the question. I don't think you can.
They're going to have to find a way. Hopefully they've got some vehicles. They can just send it. Maybe they can breach Hydra Gaming. There isn't really any other places to go.
Here we go.
Could potentially go to the power lines. You know, there's a bit of cover around there. It's not great. Is it better than breaching, crashing Hydra Gaming in the petty?
Oh, they're just going to have to pull up,
go for either. Yeah,
the thing is, with this position, you can see underneath the fence, so you'll be able to see the feet of Hydra Gaming, and they won't be able to really see you. And, well, the way that Hydra Gaming are positioning themselves is on the inside of the petrol station as well, so they're not around the area, which means it is a lot easier for Angel Alliance to get to this sort of position. But now they're going to have behind them Magic Esports making the drive. There is 3 or 4, I don't know, there's 3 or 4 people, I think 3 inside of this UAZ, I don't know at the moment, I think they're all in there. They are. Patrick, Mad Dog, all getting involved. Angel Alliance just annihilating
they need to turn around.
Magic Esports, and as you said, they need to turn around. The job's not done. There's a few teams they've got to still deal with from the future to the north of them, and obviously Hydra Gaming inside the petrol station. Down to the final 4 teams, 55 seconds till phase 7. It is so early on in this final game, and yet everyone's dead.
Yeah, Fury back again into the top 4, so turning their fortunes around here on Erangel. From the future, trying to do the same. They're down toward the bottom end of the standings, but if they have a good finish here, maybe they can jump back up and put themselves in a reasonable spot heading into day number 2.
Jeez.
The main storyline, though, to watch.
Angel.
Hydra Gaming.
No, it's Angel.
And Angel. The
It's
two
not
teams
Hydra.
that... Well, they can try. I mean, if they can get a lot of these points towards the end, they can definitely jump up.
So the
But
thing is, it's going to
Angel-
be very difficult for Hydra from this position because of the way that Insight and Flood are positioned right now. They've got the east side covered, and Angel Alliance have got the west side covered. So how does Hydra Gaming get out of this position? I don't think they really can. And if this phase 7 circle shifts away from the petrol station, which it does, Jordan, they're in some trouble here.
They are indeed, but maybe they can frag out. We'll see what they can do. Angel Alliance doing exactly that at the moment. It's from the future that is copping all of their bullets, and Angel Alliance are making a late run for a potential first place heading into day 2. This is the last game of today. Here's the
what a
push from
spray.
Hydra Gaming. The first goes down. Flood helping out as well. He'll get himself a point there. But it's Angel Alliance that are picking up the majority, the lion's share, as they put Hydra Gaming to rest. There's one player left alive. Flood! He's got a double kill. He's knocked 2 players. Mad Dog and Patrick are on the floor. It looked so good for Angel Alliance, but Flood just steps up. I think it was the Org in hand for him. Puts it to good use, and hey, dare I say it, maybe Fury, the memes might not continue. Maybe they can get themselves a win from this position.
It's not over yet, though. 3 versus 3 versus 3, and then there's the solo still for Hydra Gaming to end Robo inside of the petrol station. Not out just yet. From the future, they have pushed up very aggressively. They're going to have to deal with Angel Alliance from a very awkward position. They do have a bit of rock for cover. Nando will just sit down Hexagon. One's forced prone. That's Mip and Zuzu. And then you got Triple X up as well. So they're down to just 2 standing. I'm not sure if Hexagon's going to be able to get revived. Fury are obviously going to play for position. They don't need to move. Insight Ronin will still just hold. Watch this east side of the petrol station. But Angel Alliance will need to get moving. 45 seconds, and that blue's slowly pushing in on them. Where do you go from here? It's probably the push onto this rock, from the future.
Man, gonna cop the shots there from inside. It's Fury that are really ramping up at the moment late in this game, and it's been since game number 14 of PCS1 that they last got a victory in PCS. I mean, this year, I guess, not counting qualifiers and such, but maybe, just maybe there's one on the cards here. That's a nice toss from Flood with the Molotov. Gets rid of Mipan Zuzu from the future. And it really is just looking a little bit too easy right now.
They
for
got
Fury.
it.
No one's shooting them, and they're shooting everyone.
They're going to get their first chicken dinner since, what was the day? Do we know? But PCS1 APAC had come and gone. PCS2 APAC had come and gone. It's PCS3 APAC and a chicken dinner for Fury. They are back. No doubt about that. Second place, only 1 point behind Miramar. What a turnaround on Erangel. Forget about Miramar. Miramar so 2019, Jordan. They're the Erangel boys now. What a victory.
Yeah, it would have been day 3 of PCS1 where they got that victory, Xenox. So a good turnaround for Fury, and they started the day off really, really poorly, but they've turned up there on Erangel. 2 really, really good games from them. A second place, followed up by a first place. If we had a king on Miramar, it was undoubtedly Divine, but you'd have to argue if there was a king on Erangel, it has to be Fury there as well. So they've turned their day around. They've done a really good job of that. You asked me that question heading into, I guess, quote-unquote, halftime, right, after the first 2 games. What was the mentality going to be like for Fury? Was it going to be something that they were going to be worried about? Were they going to be tilted, etc., etc.? But like I said, it's only 2 games, and they are the kind of team that displays that mental fortitude in terms of being able to turn deficits into something greater, whether it's the next day, whether it's the next game, it's something like that. Give them the time, they'll be able to turn it around, and that's a very, very nice turnaround from Fury. So, very well done from them. Gotta say, though, the guys from Angel Alliance putting in a pretty good shout for themselves there as well. Lots of frags going their way, and a lot of credit to that region. I mean, they have one representative every time in PCS, and it seems like almost every time they have a pretty good showing.
Yeah, definitely agree with you. They end up in 3rd place, tied with LG Divine on 37 points. Great day number 1. And I don't even want to sit here and say, can they do it again tomorrow night? I think they definitely can. I think they showed in the matches played that Angel Alliance are here to play. They're here to compete. They're here to win. They're not just here to make up the numbers. They're looking solid. They're winning really good fights, getting into good positions. I really liked what I saw from them on Miramar, and definitely in this final game on Erangel as well. Again, touching on Fury, of course, our winners from this game. I did say throughout all of that in the halftime show was, how are they going to respond? Right? That was the biggest question out of all of them in terms of their mentality going into the second half of the day. The response. We saw it full hand. It was an amazing response. It's very easy to sort of, throw the toys out of the cart and say, well, it's not our day. What a horrible start. It's not our tournament. Oh, well, things happen. But they responded in style, and they had no other choice but to respond, really, and they certainly did. And now, in a way, they're not playing catch-up from tomorrow onwards. They're right at the top. They're only, I think, 1 point behind Buriram, who are still in first place on 40 points. So it's essentially like the day has just resulted in nothing. It's like we haven't really got ourselves a clear leader, which I really like. We've got ourselves a bit of a top 4. Then there's a small... But obviously we'll have the leaderboard up in a minute, but I really, really love what I'm seeing so far here for PCS3 APAC compared to essentially, especially like PCS1, Charity Showdown. We had a couple of runaways. PCS2 became a 2-horse race, and this is seemingly a little bit more open, but that's simply off the back of LG Divine having a horrible Erangel.
Yeah, you're right. But then again, Fury had a horrible Miramar and they had a really good Erangel. So it's like, okay, yeah, maybe you talk about Divine being really good at the start. You got to take it in the context that both teams have had 2 good maps, 2 pretty bad maps. And then Buriram's been there generally pretty consistent. They had 3 good maps, 1 pretty rough one. Angel Alliance, also similar to Buriram. So there's a few storylines, a few similar kind of performances across the board there from different teams, but it's that top 4 that's really interesting for me, Xenox. You were sort of mentioning them. They're going at about 10 points a game at the moment, which is a pretty hefty margin. Normally, again, you sit around 8 to 10 points is like your top team for whatever respective tournament it's going to be. So 1 or 2 of these teams is going to probably drop off as we go through, the remaining 4 days of PCS3. Question is going to be, who is it going to be and when is that going to happen? How long do we keep a top 4 discussion? Do we make it a top 5 or a 6 discussion? Does Division X Gaming do something similar to what they did in Charity Showdown where they come back from behind? Does Cerberus show some of the performances that they had on Miramar, which they also weren't really able to back up then on Erangel? Sharper also fell down pretty substantially on Erangel as well. There's quite a few teams that I sort of want to still keep in the mix, keep in the discussion, because they are teams that can really sort of push the issue if things go their way. And it's only day 1, We've only had 4 games. There's still, like 20 something like that remaining. So plenty of time to catch up. Doesn't matter where you are. Even if you're unicorn right now on 1 point, if you start having days like what Buriram has just had, you could still catch up.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting discussion. You're sort of framing it in terms of like top 4, top 5. In this case, the top 4 is based off points. But I said at the beginning of the night that there's a top 3 in town here in this APAC lobby, and that's Buriram, that's Fury, that's Divine. As we look at the match leaderboard, lo and behold, out of the top 4, those 3 teams are all in there, fitting up nicely. Obviously, Angel Alliance are there for the time being. How long they can remain there, we will have to see a bit more tomorrow. But it's obviously fair for Divine, Fury, and Buriram. They've got the credits in the bank. We've seen them over the course of the entire year in these sort of lobbies perform. So we kind of expect them to be there, and we expect them to remain there. The teams below them, Magic Esports, Hydra Gaming, VTR, Division X, Cerberus, out of those sort of teams, how many are expected to get into the top 3 at some point throughout PCS3 APAC? I'm going to say I don't really think you expect any of them to get into the top 3. It could happen if everything sort of clicks for maybe Division X Gaming, potentially Cerberus Esports. But I need to see a little bit more from Magic Esports and Hydra Gaming if I'm going to consider them contenders. Great start, don't get me wrong, for those 2, especially in 5th and 6th off 4 games. But we've still got another 20 games to play, so you can't get too excited just yet. But LG Divine, Fury, Buriram, the 3 favorites in my eyes, all doing really well. And if you won, potentially, Jordan, to use your pick'ems early, I would be more than happy for you to pick any of those 3. Because they're the 3 that I think have the best chances of winning PCS3 APAC.
I would definitely agree with you. It's going to be a case of consistency, which has been something that a lot of those teams have battled with. Buriram generally fairly consistent in terms of their overall season results, but as you can see, even based on today's games, they have those big games. They have those 14-kill win games, and then they have the 0-point games. The very, very next game, like, it's just insane how that sort of seems to go up and down. It's like a wave almost for them. Fury are generally a little bit more consistent, although that may be not indicative based on today's performances. Maybe it's a new look kind of a Fury, bringing Flood into the roster. I mean, I'm liking what I'm seeing so far from them. Can't complain too much. Obviously, you mentioned Divine. As you say, they're doing really, really well. But I have to say, like, my favorite team to watch at the moment is Angel Alliance, just because that sort of unexpected X factor that they're kind of bringing to PCS3. We didn't have too many expectations for them, and they're blowing them all out of the water.
Certainly agree with you there. That's going to wrap us up, though, for day number 1 for PCS3 APAC. Hope everyone enjoyed the show. It's the best region, really, out of all of them for PUBG Esports. That's my own opinion. Absolutely enjoyed being back for day number 1. Of course, tomorrow will be day number 2, same time, same place. But in the meantime, in a couple of hours, we will see PCS3 Europe also make their debut at the back end of this year. So thank you again, everyone, for watching. Best of luck for your pick'ems. Best of luck watching on over at Europe, and we'll see you tomorrow.